Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related show on the planet Earth, the John Campea Show, coming to you from right here on my YouTube channel. I am, of course, your host, John Campea, and it is a most excellent and awesome day when I can welcome you, my most excellent and exalted friends from around the world, as we gather together to talk about our favorite things in the world, movies and movie news and all that sorts of good stuff. And, of course, joining me here today is the most excellent and exalted, the one and the only, Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett. Robert, how you doing, sir?
John, you know what? Because of the Rise of Skywalker trailer, I've decided to become a space equestrian.
A space equestrian.
Yeah.
You never see. This is what movies do. You never even knew that was an option.
I didn't. I want to
until
be
the
able.
new trailer.
I want to ride across the deck of Star Destroyers all around the cosmos.
I'm actually really looking forward to seeing what the context of that is, because it's a little confusing out of context. And of course, and also making her triumphant return back from Atlanta, Erin Cummings is here today, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back, Erin.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be back. I've missed you guys.
I even texted you while you were gone saying, I miss you.
You did. And you said that you were so giddy about my return. I love giddiness. Ghibli.
We were Ghibli.
Ghibli.
That's an internal phrase we use around here. When we're super excited, you are Ghibli.
Oh, got it.
It's more than just being excited.
Okay.
It's beyond excited.
Well, I'm Ghibli as well to be back, so thank you for having me.
And we are so Ghibli that all of you are here joining us today. Listen, we do have a lot of things that we're going to be talking about here. Scarlett Johansson has made some references to the future of Black Widow, or the lack thereof. Certain movie theaters seem to be trying to force sheep herd people into watching 3D screenings of Star Wars instead of the ones they really want to talk to. What does it mean when they say an actor is in talks to play it? Has Jared Leto actually been screwed over this whole Joker thing? Because we've all been looking at it one way. We're going to talk about a certain article that came out about that as well as just a minute. But before we get to all that, we're going to cover one thing here off the top, and that is this. MoviePass. Wait a minute, MoviePass? I thought that thing was dead. No, it's still around. It's like a zombie that you didn't quite get the headshot right on. It's still crawling towards you, still scraping onto life, being in the headlines. Here's the thing. I was one of the first subscribers to MoviePass, and I love the idea of it. I quickly soured on MoviePass when I realized that their whole business strategy was blackmail. Blackmail was their business strategy. Their business strategy was, even though we can't possibly make money at $10 a month, we're going to get so many subscribers, we're then going to use them as blackmail leverage against movie theaters and movie studios to force them to cut us in. If the movie theaters cut us in on ticket costs and cut us in on concession stands, which the theaters were never going to do, and we're going to strong arm movie theaters into making advertising deals with us, which they then came along. Because remember, this was a great example of this, and a horrible thing. On the same weekend, Red Sparrow, the Jennifer Lawrence movie, and the Bruce Willis remake of
Death Wish.
Death Wish, thank you, came out. Oh God, that movie was bad. Mm-hmm. But you see, Death Wish gave in to MoviePass, bought advertising space on the MoviePass app, and not only was MoviePass pimping out Death Wish, which is fine. I mean, that's advertising. That's fine. Users of MoviePass discovered they couldn't use their service to get their tickets to Red Sparrow. So they were a completely underhanded and shady company. And it appears even in death, the shadiness continues. According to an article in USA Today, there are a number of former MoviePass users, of course, MoviePass is now defunct, that are claiming they're still getting charged. They're noticing they are still getting charges on their accounts for being from MoviePass and all this kind of stuff. Now, it should be pointed out, because there's been a lot of people talking about this, and to be fair, and I am not a MoviePass defender, but to be fair, it's not like there are thousands of these reports, okay? It's not like there are thousands. USA Today is pointing out to several very specific Twitter users that are reporting themselves that they've had some, noticing they're still getting charges from MoviePass. But to be fair, the number's not in the hundreds or the thousands. It's just a couple of users. Now, also, to be fair, CEO of MoviePass, Mitch Lowe, who is just shady as hell, in my opinion. But anyway, his response to this, he said, one single subscriber, which is contrary to what the USA Today report says, but One single subscriber out of the many thousands of MoviePass subscribers was charged $9.95 on September 15th. I think that was the official day that they closed down, and has been refunded that amount. He said that some subscribers may be mistaking refunds for actual new charges. Refunds for actual new charges. So listen, I'm going to say this.
Sure.
I actually, to a degree, do want to defend MoviePass here. It does not sound, despite the headlines, like this is a mass thing that's happening. That, like, this morning, 5,000 MoviePass users have woken up to find $10 charged to their cards. It seems like it's a small number of people are reporting it. It sounds more like it's an anomaly and sounds more like it's a mistake. I mean, I don't buy the CEO saying, this is only one person. No, it's clearly more than that. That said, while I don't think in this particular case there were any dubious motivations, and how often have I been able to say that about MoviePass, but I actually don't think in this situation, Rob, I don't think there were any dubious motivations. However, it just once again highlights the utter and complete incompetence that this company was founded on. They was completely incompetent from a business model point of view. It was completely incompetent about how they were going to make money. It was completely shady and underhanded and gangster-like about how they tried to strong-arm studios and movie theaters. It was completely underhanded how they then treated their customers, about 32 times changing the user agreements about how many movies you can see, when you can see movies, when you can't, constantly blocked out. Got to the point that my buddy had AMC, my buddy Soul had AMC, or had a MoviePass, and he realized that on a Saturday he wanted to go see a movie. At his local theater, there was one showtime for one movie that he could use MoviePass. They are completely shady, underhanded, and a completely incompetent, clown car of buffoons. So while I do not believe that this particular situation speaks to them trying to be evil and getting more money out of the people who are the customers, I don't think that's the case here. I just think it's another example of their utter incompetence that even certain and isolated instances like this are still happening. Anyway, Rob, you look at this situation. Do you see more nefarious motivations than I do? How do you see it?
No, they're just stupid. Just like Firefest. You look at, I mean, look, what's very, very funny is, to me, it's our society. Everybody wants the upside without understanding that with an upside you have to have a methodology. It's like somebody who would raise $100 million to make a movie without having ever made a movie, and they just don't know what to do, and they blow through their $100 million, and they don't have nothing to show for it. They had the best intentions. They were going to make the greatest movie ever. They raised $100 million. Somebody gave it to them because they talked a good game, but then they forgot. They didn't know how to make a movie. And that happens a lot in Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Most of the time the movies do get made. But in this case, MoviePass, I had MoviePass. I bought it. I got a MoviePass for a year. I got it for, Christmas 2 years ago. And at first, it was great. Like, when I first had it.
It was awesome.
I loved it. It was awesome. But even every time I went to the movie theater, I'm like, how are they going to make money? It was very apparent to me that there's no way this was sustainable. It didn't work. I kept wondering. I would say to Elizabeth, "How does this work?" We would go to the Galleria to go to the Americana and see movies at the Pacific Theaters there, and I'm like, this can't be real. And I told her, at one point, this is all going to crash and burn, and it happened a lot faster than I thought, because even as a user, as somebody who has a rudimentary understanding of movie exhibition, I knew it was inane and stupid. And whoever their investors were did not do due diligence.
Oh, and they're suing them now. Like, a lot of their investors are now suing them, and it's interesting to see. Aaron,
so good luck getting your $9.99 back.
Yeah,
those investors are coming in first.
You're seeing this. What's your first take on this when you hear about this story, Aaron?
It makes me think that the people who are running MoviePass, that they're the cast of Knocked Up in some crappy little house in North Hollywood, just being like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, we got a problem with this. Or I'm envisioning between that and then the main characters from Silicon Valley. When there's a huge problem that goes on, and just that's what I'm imagining in my head. Is who that is a representation of who is actually running MoviePass behind the scenes.
Question here is, guys, what do you make of this? I actually don't think there was any underhanded intention here. I think this was just incompetence. Maybe you see it a little bit differently. What do you guys think about this? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right. With that down and out of the way, let's now move on to our main topics of the day. How do we select our main topics here on the John Campea Show? Well, it's really rather simple. You see, you guys come up with them by simply going over to www.thejohncampeashow.com/contact. Once you guys get there, fill out the form with your topic or question, hit submit, and then maybe, just maybe, you might see your topic or question featured here on the John Campea Show. With that down, let's move on to the first main topic today. And our first main topic today gets submitted to us by Chris Walters, who writes, "Greetings, John. Not the biggest DCEU fan in the world, but I have liked a number of Zack Snyder's movies, and I just read that he's not only making a new zombie movie for Netflix that has a huge budget of around $90 million, but that he also just wrapped shooting it. What are your expectations for this movie, and are you excited to see a new Zack Snyder movie again?" All right, thanks a lot for saying that in. And yes, Army of the Dead. I remember we actually spoke about this a number of months ago when Zack Snyder signed up to do this new film, going direct to Netflix. Very big budget for like a zombie movie. It's a pretty damn big budget. I mean, not the same budget he would have had on, Batman versus Superman, but for a zombie film, this is a really impressive budget. And it's an interesting sounding little premise. This is how Snyder described the film. A zombie plague hits Vegas. Okay, I'm interested right there.
Right, me too.
I'm already on board. A zombie plague hits Vegas. Zombie showgirls, and they're able to contain the virus to the city. They build a wall out of shipping containers, and then the city falls. And 6 years later, one of the casino owners hires this group of zombie soldiers to go get his money that he left in a safe in a casino. So, it seems like you've got a little bit of a mixture of a zombie movie, of a Vegas movie, and of a heist movie. What's not to like? Listen, for all the crap that Zack Snyder has taken over the DCEU, and some of the criticism is deserved, some of it is not. I'll always be in his debt for giving us Man of Steel. I love that movie deeply and passionately. He's also done a number of other great films, obviously 300. I still think one of his most underrated movies is this little animated film he did called The Owls of Gaul, which I thought was really fun. I really, really enjoyed that. And it's a different type of movie for him and all that kind of stuff. Now, he's a little hit and miss too. Sure, almost every filmmaker has a bad day at the office. I was one of the people that, while I desperately loved Man of Steel, and I enjoy Batman versus Superman, all that kind of stuff, I was one of the people, and I still am, that really felt it was time for Zack Snyder to move on. Not only for the good of the franchise of the DCU, but I thought for his own good. For his own good, it was time for him to move on. And all I can do is speak for myself here, Rob, in the sense that I think this is a great move for him. Like we said this before when they first announced that he was doing this. I think breaking out again, getting into the zombie genre, which he has a little bit of success in his past, I think this is a really good move, both from a content point of view, from a creative point of view. And I got to tell you, I like the synopsis of this. I'm looking forward to seeing this movie, even if Netflix never lets us know when it's going to release, because they're terrible at that. Anyway, Rob, you're seeing things about this movie. What do you think about the sounds of it?
Well, you're talking about the budget. This is no World War Z, John. Come on. It doesn't.
True.
Seriously, I worship at the altar of George Romero's original Dawn of the Dead. So when Zack Snyder was tapped to direct the James Gunn written remake of Dawn of the Dead, I was so vehemently opposed. I'm like, I'm never going to go see this movie. And I went to the theater and I liked it. I mean, I was never primed to hate a movie more than Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead. And I walked out of that movie with a big smile on my face going, wow, that's pretty good. I bought the director's cut on Blu-ray. Surprise, surprise. But I have to say, the synopsis and Snyder coming back and doing this, it's obviously in his wheelhouse. I like the premise, and now that Aaron has me thinking about getting Elizabeth Berkley to play a zombie, play Nomi Malone, starring in Goddess, if they could just do a throwaway gag where somebody walks by and they're on stage, shambling around as the undead, I'm in. I really want to see this. It sounds good to me.
You're hearing about this, Aaron. I mean, first, Zack Snyder coming back. This is going to be the first film he's directed. And one of the things that we're also kind of overlooking here is not only is it the first film he's really doing since coming back from the DCU, this is the first film he's doing since the whole thing, the passing of his daughter and that tragedy and stuff like that. But anyway, you're seeing this sort of a movie. Does this sound interesting to you? Or
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm Zombie Showgirls. I'm in. I mean, I will see this movie just to see the background actors. Like when I was in Atlanta, I was actually asking some of the background actors if they had ever worked on Walking Dead, because it shoots outside of Atlanta. And apparently, like there's some very rigorous qualifications that people have to meet in order to play the undead, and the background actors really get into it. So when you think about the cornucopia of people that are in Las Vegas, it is the number one hotspot for people watching to see anything weird and crazy. And to imagine all of those people as the undead, I'm in. Additionally, this cast is pretty remarkable. I mean, very exciting, diverse cast, not just with lots of men and women in different backgrounds, but also it's almost like a United Nations of zombie killers, because you have actors from Canada, from Germany, from Japan, India, France, Mexico. I love the fact that between Dave Bautista and Crystalia, I think we're going to have a really nice comedic element. There's going to be a lot of, Dave Bautista zingy one-liners that come in. And I'm mispronouncing his name, Hiroyumi Sanada, who I can't pronounce his name.
Who's awesome, by the way.
But I love him. Love him. He was incredible in Westworld. He is one of my Hollywood crushes, but he's also just a phenomenal actor and a martial arts just champion. So I think there's going to be some really great fight scenes, some nice comedic humor, comedic relief to break up some of the tension. And I think it's going to be a really fun film.
And by the way, I should mention here, you mentioned you were in Atlanta. We should have said this off the top. The reason you were gone for 3 weeks, the reason you were in Atlanta, you've been off shooting CW's Dynasty for the last 3 weeks.
I have.
So
it's been great.
You got like episodes of All Rise on CBS airing. You're doing Dynasty.
Lucifer.
You're doing Lucifer coming up. You did 2 CW shows like within almost a calendar year between Flash and that. So
yeah,
I'm glad you enjoyed your time in Atlanta.
I had a
I'm also
time.
a little selfishly glad that you're back.
Did Joan Collins? Did they bring her back at all?
Not while I was there. But you know what was interesting? Oh my gosh, who played Dominique Devereaux?
Dude, I've never seen any of the episodes of Classic Dynasty.
She's a famous African-American actress. Oh my gosh, I've been talking about her for 3 weeks, and I just blanked on her name. Anyway, she passed away right when I got there, so there was a lot of talk about her.
But she was not a part of the current cast, right?
No, nobody that was in the original. But it was really cool, I have to say, for someone who high school was pretty awful. Like I just got bullied and just endlessly. It was awful, awful, awful. There was something so validating about being able to walk into work and have Grant Show, who of course, like in high school was, the star of Melrose Place.
Yeah.
And every time I looked at him, I'd be like, hey, you know what? 14-year-old Cookie Cummings, you're going to be okay. Because one day, that handsome man that you get to watch on Melrose Place every night, you're going to sit next to him and be like, so, Grant, how was your weekend? So,
was that your nickname in high school?
Cookie.
Oh, Cookie. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
all through junior high and high school. My college
Cookie.
diploma actually says Aaron Cookie
Cummings.
Lynn Cummings.
Wow.
Yeah, when I was getting a journalism degree, and all my teachers were like, with a name like Cookie Cummings, you're going to have to go into broadcast. And then I was like, I'm going to be an actress. And they were like, oh, you're going to go into porn then.
All right. Clearly.
Shockingly, I somehow have a semi-professional career.
Listen,
Still get naked.
Question is here, guys. What do you make of this whole thing about the Zack Snyder situation? Are you looking forward to this movie? Do you think this is the right move for him? Do you think he maybe should have done something outside of the zombie thing? I thought it was a good first step. Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to the second main topic today. And our second main topic today is sent to us by Lance D, who writes... There's been a lot of talk the last couple of days about Jared Leto being pissed about the new Joker movie, and everyone is crapping on Leto for it. But I just read an article that took a different point of view on the situation that lays out why Leto had absolutely every right to be angry and was completely screwed over by Warner Brothers. Just wanted to know if you've read the article and what you think of it. All right. Thanks a lot for saying that in, Lance. And as a matter of fact, I have read that article. And the article, unless I'm completely wrong, but the article in question that Lance is talking about came to us from our friends over at Cinema Blend. Cinema Blend put a really interesting article together that basically walks through, Jared Leto's experience with Warner Brothers as Joker. Now, in recent days, we've heard that Jared Leto was furious about the new Joker movie, which we knew a year ago. I mean, we knew that a year ago. A bunch of other things as well. And honestly, we as fans are so fickle. The only reason we're holding that against Jared Leto is because we like the movie Joker. If we didn't like the movie Joker, we all would be hailing Jared Leto as a hero and talking about how everybody should have listened to him. But that said, the way this article takes a different point of view on it from Cinema, and I encourage everybody to go over to Cineblend and read it, is basically walks through a timeline of how Jared Leto was lied to by Warner Brothers over and over and over and over again. Like, so many promises were made and so many promises were broken. And whether you love or hated Jared Leto's portrayal as Joker in Suicide Squad, I actually personally liked it myself, but whether you loved or hated it, it goes into the how absolutely seriously he took that role. That he worshipped the Joker character. He wanted to do something just, and whether you thought he succeeded or not, different issue. But he really did want to do something with it. He really did want to honor it. He really did want to do something cool with it. His role in Suicide Squad was originally much bigger. Of course, we know about all the edits that went through and how, what was it? A music video company eventually came in to change things over. They told him he was going to get a solo movie. They told him there were going to be a couple of spin-offs that he was going to be in. All these things came and went. Tons of his work was left on the scrap room floor. And then he finds out that his own Joker movie is going to be happening by hearing that another Joker movie is happening. Now, anyway, here's a couple of clips from this article that I want to go over here. This is from the Cinematic article. Where it's easy to see any move to squash Todd Phillips' Joker, if that in fact actually happened, as sour grapes. But there's certainly more going on than that. There's no good end to this scenario from Leto's perspective. While Phillips' movie was always designed to be something separate from the DCEU characters, that minor detail was never going to matter. If Phillips' movie sucked or bombed, it would only mean stock in the Joker as a character would go down. If the movie was a hit, as it has now been proven to be, then interest in the Joker, that Joker, goes up, but nobody's looking for Leto to reprise his role. It goes on to say, this entire situation was a mess, and it mostly had nothing to do with Jared Leto. It was all about a studio that clearly didn't really know what it wanted and was just throwing things at the wall to see what stuck, which is true. Evidently, Leto's Joker wasn't one of those things that stuck, and that's fine, but I doubt the situation was presented to the actor in that way. One of the things that we, me included, I think you included as well, all of us, one of the things that we as movie fans often do is we jump to emotional plateaus based on headlines, right? We do that. I'm guilty of it. You're guilty of it. We're all guilty of it. We see this movie we love, Joker, which is awesome. And we hear Jared Leto was pissed at it, didn't want it to happen, and immediately we go there. I got to say, I really appreciated this article from that perspective, laying it out, saying, listen, if this was you would have been just as furious. You would have been just as upset. You would have been just as angry. Love or hate what Leto did as Joker, there's no other way to cut this. He got screwed. He got absolutely screwed by Warner Brothers. He was made promises, all this kind of stuff, and then put in these ridiculous, impossible situations. And by the way, one of the things that should be pointed out, he never came out publicly and bashed the new Joker movie. Jared Leto never got on Twitter and said, screw this movie. He never came out. He kept it quiet. He kept it behind closed doors. The other people were reporting stuff, but he never said a thing publicly. And that's important to keep in mind. So, look, what Warner Brothers should or shouldn't have done with the Jared Leto Joker is up for debate. But to me, when I look at the situation, they massively mismanaged it. Whether they did, ultimately came to the right conclusions or not. And I'm just glad that this other point of view on this has come out, because it's become the cool thing to just jump on Jared Leto and bash on him for this. And he did some things wrong. But he was also put in a really bad spot and treated really badly, had a lot of promises broken when he invested a lot of himself into it. Anyway, and this is sort of how I saw it. Rob, you're hearing these sorts of things, and we read the headlines, we read the stories, but what's your take on this whole thing?
Well, it shows actually the high stakes when you're dealing with franchise filmmaking, as you're doing here. An actor is taking a huge risk, both personally and career-wise, to take on a role like this. And if ever anybody followed what Jared Leto was doing as he was playing the Joker during production, he was all in. I mean, this guy...
And a lot of people didn't like what he was doing.
No, they didn't. Like his
but
co-stars,
he was all in.
But he was all in. And if you look at the trailers for Suicide Squad, you can see a lot of incredibly elaborate material they shot with him that never wound up in the finished film.
Yeah.
And the reason you take on these roles, especially after, Jared Leto is whatever you think of him, he's a guy that is, whether it's his band 30 Seconds to Mars or whether it's his roles that he takes, he's not somebody who dabbles. He's never been that way. And to go all in on this, he thought he had a future. This was not a one-off for him. Suicide Squad was a hot mess. It was, like you said, it was totally destroyed and rebuilt in post-production. A lot of what he was doing was left on the cutting room floor. There was no chance that I think we were ever going to see his Joker, but nobody was going to tell him that. His agents are going to want to know, his representation, his lawyers, his manager. They're like, hey, man, we got these signed contracts. We thought you guys were committed. You're even making another Suicide Squad movie. What's up? And I can only imagine. Remember, this is before Walter Hamada took over Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
And by all stretches of what I've heard from people that have done business with Warner Brothers, until Walter Hamada came on, it was a mess over there. Nobody did know what was going on. The executives certainly didn't. They're all scrambling. Remember, there was a lot of shenanigans all the way up to the top of the leadership at Warner Brothers that they were dealing with. There was the AT&T merger. They didn't want anything to look bad, so of course they're going to shine him on. Like, no, we're going to do a Joker movie. Until they weren't.
And we're going to do a Joker and Harley movie. And we're going to have you in Suicide Squad 2.
And they're doing, how does he feel that there's a Harley Quinn movie, Birds of Prey got shot, he's not a part of it? Why? For whatever reason, I think he got the shaft on this one. And like you said, he's been quiet. And whether you like Jared Leto or not, and I know there's people that have different things to say about him, he still was all in. And I think this is what happens when a studio is mismanaged, when they're playing the high stakes game of franchise filmmaking, when a movie like Suicide Squad became a liability for everybody that was involved, the executives that were involved, David Ayer, who wasn't the filmmaker. It was a mess. It was a mess, and it has left a lot of blood in its wake, even though it ended up making money.
And we're still talking about it to this day. And it should be pointed out, too, whereas there are a number of actors who just want to pop up in a comic book movie because it's the big trendy thing and there's a good paycheck attached. He loved the idea of doing this. And again, it made him do some pretty weird things, no doubt. But anyway, Aaron, I know, like, you and I haven't had a chance to talk about this particular situation because I literally haven't seen you for 3 weeks, so you walked in the door. But you're seeing something like this, and look, I'm sure you've probably seen a lot of behind-the-scenes drama like this on various sets and movies and TV shows, but what's your impression of all this when you see this?
One of the first things that Lucy Lawless said to me when I got down to New Zealand to shoot Spartacus was, she said, Hollywood, it'll love you like a snake. And she's not wrong. None of this story is surprising at all. I think that Hollywood is absolutely just as ruthless as Wall Street or any of the, any nefarious industry that you can imagine. Yeah, there's a lot of wonderful things, but there's a lot of people shining you on, telling you what you want to hear, making promises that maybe in that moment they mean, like the number of times that I've had people say to me, oh my God, and then this is going to happen, and then this is going to happen, and then you just go, okay. And again, you guys have already said it. People have differing opinions about Jared Leto. But we have to also remember Jared Leto is an Academy Award winner for playing a very complicated and challenging role.
Yeah.
But even before then, he had an incredible career as a supporting actor, whether it was in Fight Club or in American Psycho or in Requiem for a Dream as a lead actor. There's no denying that he is an incredibly talented actor. I'm sad for him that his Joker was in Suicide Squad, because and everyone that I know who's ever worked for Warner Brothers in a large capacity has always said that they hate working for Warner Brothers, and probably for the reasons, Rob, that you mentioned, because they're all over the place and mismanaged, and also when things are changing hands, one person makes a promise, well then that person gets fired 2 weeks later, and that promise goes away. But yeah, I do think that he got screwed. But I think that anyone who played that role in this film would have gotten screwed. I do want to say, though, about all of his little antics and stuff. Remember when Sean Young really wanted to play Catwoman?
Oh, yes.
And she was willing to do anything. And she showed up to, I believe it was the David Letterman show, dressed as Catwoman. That's kind of what these little antics reek of. You can get into the mindset of a psychopath without having to make life difficult for your co-stars.
Right, exactly.
You can do that on your own time in your own private space, but I think that also adds to why people are like, whatever, it's just Jared Leto. And unfortunately, I think that his stock has taken a big hit because he was in this place where he was really regarded as a serious actor who really got into his characters. But then all of the little hijinks and giving dead rats to people and all that stuff, it kind of made people go, oh, you're just a gimmick guy, when he's not. So I want for Jared Leto to go back and find another Requiem for a Dream type of role that's going to remind everybody of the talent that he truly is.
Maybe that'll be Morbius. Who knows? If Morbius can surprise, who knows? That's the question is, guys, look, there's a lot of different opinions that have been flying around. When you hear a different perspective from it, what does it make you think? Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, with that down, let's go on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets sent in to us by Liam, who writes, hey everyone, one of the most popular theories for the Black Widow movie is that she will be brought back to life, maybe from an alternate reality. But Scarlett Johansson was on The Tonight Show recently and said that Black Widow is certainly dead. Maybe Yelena Belova could replace her in future movies. What are your thoughts on this? All right, first thing I'm going to say is this. I hate this whole notion about, well, another character takes over the mantle of that character. Nah, shut up. Scarlett Johansson is Black Widow. Somebody else can come along and start calling themselves Black Widow. Scarlett Johansson's Black Widow. Anyway, that being said. Look, I don't believe in anything when it comes to any characters that die. I believe Robert Downey Jr. will be back. I believe Chris Evans will be back. It may take 3-4 years or whatever, but I believe they're going to be back. And I certainly do believe that about Scarlett Johansson. But that said, Scarlett Johansson was on The Tonight Show the other day, to reference the email. And I'll tell you what, she was very convincing. She was very convincing that, no, that's it. She's done. I think Black Widow is it for her. She wrote this, or she said the following on the show. She said, honestly, it brought a closure, talking about doing Black Widow, it brought a closure to me that I needed. Because I was kind of wiped out after that last one, talking about Endgame. That last one emotionally and literally. There are very few certain things, but definitely death is pretty certain. But people definitely don't believe it and have tried to convince me that my character did not actually die. That may be. My character existed in an alternate universe, but no, death is a pretty final thing. And she went on to basically insist that she's done at this. And I'll tell you what, while I am somebody who believes that, again, Robert Downey Jr. is going to be back, so blah, blah. I got to tell you what, as the most skeptical person in the world because of the Marvel fake death universe, I got to say, Rob, I think I actually believe her. I actually do think she's now looking to move on and move past and do 5,000 other things. And she's done her time and they wrapped up her character and all that kind of stuff. And I might be naive, but I think I actually believe her when she says she's done. What do you make of these comments?
I watched that Tonight Show clip, and one, she seems deliriously happy. You know, Colin Jost proposed her. They're getting married, and she was talking about how Michael Che will never ever.
In my opinion, he should be the happier one, but whatever. Okay.
Michael Che, she was like, he will never throw the bachelor party that he wants to throw. It was very funny. And I thought she seemed very convincing because, look, you know, actors play roles for 10 years is a long time for anybody to play any role ever. And I understand the money's good and all that, but remember where she came from. I mean, you go back and you watch her in something like Ghost World. She's actually a very gifted performer. If you haven't seen Under the Skin, where she's basically playing an alien who barely speaks, that is an incredible, incredible performance. She's an amazingly gifted actor, and I think she really just wants to do something different, you know, and I believe it. I believe she gets. Look, she was second fiddle in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She finally gets her front and center film where she's the lead in a comic book movie. I think it's a nice bow on that part of her life, and she wants to move on. She seemed very convincing to me. I want to see what she's going to do because she is one of our great actresses, and I always feared that I hope she would do things like Under the Skin and no one saw them. So let's hope she comes out and gets into a major blockbuster or something that is not an Avengers movie where her ability to act is front and center again rather than the fact that she's an Avenger. And
let's not forget, there was serious talk about her getting an Academy Award nomination for a movie she doesn't even appear in with her. Right, there was some serious talk about there. Anyway, Aaron, you hear these comments. Do you buy it? Or is this just going to be another kind of bait and switch? Or do you think she's actually serious about this?
I think she's serious about it. I mean, the key word that pops out to me that she said is closure. And so when anyone uses the term closure with something, it's that what I read into that is it's not only done. I am at peace with its finality. And once you have that, it's kind of like trying to get back into a relationship with someone after you've already gotten closure on the relationship. You just really are never going to be able to be all in again, you know? And until you get that closure, it's kind of hard to get there. But also, I agree with what Rob said. You know, she's played this character for a long time. And unlike Robert Downey Jr. and to a certain degree with Captain America, you know, Black Widow didn't really have a lot of joy or humor or levity. You know, she was always real stoic. And that's not a criticism or a comment on the performance. I just think that that's how the character was. She didn't have the same ability to have fun as, say, Robert Downey Jr. did with Iron Man. You know, I think that for him, it would be a lot more enticing to come back and pop in and play Iron Man every once in a while because Tony Stark is a fun character. You know, Black Widow's just, she's real serious. And I can understand any actor wanting to say, all right, I'm tired, I'm done, and I'm hanging up my cat suit.
Wait, I was going to say, what would you call that? Anyway, guys.
Cat suit?
Cat suit, bodysuit, onesie. I don't know. Guys, what do you think about this? Do you buy into what she's saying? Do you think that, I actually think she's done? I don't think after Black Widow we're going to see her again. Or do you think, no, John, come on, this is the Marvel fake death universe. She'll be back at some point. What do you guys think? Jump down to the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our fourth main topic today. And our fourth main topic today gets sent in to us from Bill Hauser, who writes, my AMC in, what's
Maryland?
MD in the US? Is that Maryland? Mm-hmm. Maryland has one Prime and one IMAX theater. Whenever a movie is offered in 3D, the Prime theater is always 3D. And the more favorable IMAX showtimes are as well. I can see a non-3D screening of Star Wars at 1:45 a.m. opening night. Yay. When I look at seats sold in both, 3D generally has a third to half of the number of seats sold as standard non-3D. Every time I ask anyone if they prefer 3D or standard, I always get the same answer: standard. If AMC keeps at this, I might look into Regal. What are your thoughts? All right, thanks a lot for sending in that question, man. And the first thing is, I got to give you some bad news. There are Regal theaters that will do the same thing. There are Cineplex theaters that will do the same thing. Now, it should also be pointed out that not all AMC theaters are doing this. Not at all. It might even be just a few. I mean, depending on what the general manager wants to do. There has been a problem with the one problem with 3D. And you know, because a lot of people say to me, John, why do you dislike 3D so much? If you don't want to see 3D, just don't see it in 3D. The problem is sometimes they will only give you an option for 3D. And why? Because while the national average right now for a movie ticket is $9.15, that's the national average. The national average for a 3D ticket is $13.20. That's $4 more. So here's what's happening. Movie theaters are ignorantly trying to force on you a viewing experience you don't want in order to scold you with a higher ticket price. It's one thing for them to try to entice you to pay for the higher ticket price. Hey, we'll give you this advantage if you go to the 3D screening. Hey, we'll give you that advantage if you come to the 3D screening. It's one thing, and totally understandable, for movie theaters to want to entice you in to pay for the extra expensive movie ticket. It is another thing to try to corral you like sheep into the corral that costs $4 extra for a ticket in a video format you don't want to watch. We are constantly talking on this show about the fact that the movie-going experience needs to be protected by the theaters and enhanced by the theaters. But this is yet another example of movie theaters being ignorant fucktwats, just ignoring the viewer experience of what the fan wants and what the fan needs and trying to give them a positive, fun experience, and instead bending over backwards to shoot it up their cornhole. And it's ridiculous. Now look, I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't even looked at this yet. Have not even looked at this yet. I put up just before the show started today a Twitter poll. And I nothing leading. I just asked on the Twitter poll today for the John Campea Show question of the day. I simply asked, hey, you guys are off to see the new Star Wars movie on opening night. You get there and you have a choice to see it in 3D or non-3D. What do you pick? That's all. That's all I asked. Let's go over and take a look. Let's see what you guys have said. All right, so I put this up just before the show started. 2,400 of you guys have already replied. 89%.
Wow.
89% of you guys are saying you would choose the 2D screening. 11%, because there are people out there who appreciate 3D, that's great. 11% of the people out there are saying they would choose to go to see the 3D screening. The movie-going audience wants 2D screenings. They do not want 3D, at least not the majority of them. So therefore, if you're not an ignorant fucktwit and you're needing to program what's going to be playing on your screens, you go, okay, well then let's make sure about 85% of our screenings are what the audience is looking for, and let's make about 15% of our screenings available for those who want to go see it in 3D. Instead, what we're seeing in a lot of movie theaters is no, fuck you, audience. We're going to put on 90% of our screenings 3D because we can charge you the extra $4 for a format you don't even want to watch it in, and your only other option is to not come see the movie. Screw you. That's their message to us. And you want to ask why that year over year, the last couple of years, we've been seeing a drop in theater going? With the overall systemic problem of the rising ticket prices for everything that goes all the way to the studio level. That's not just the movie theater's fault. That's also the studio's fault for how much they're making their movies for. The cost gets passed down to you and me. Between that, 30 fucking minutes of preview time, and now This whole thing about screw the user experience. We want to make them do something they don't want to do because we'll get a couple of extra bucks. That is being penny wise and dollar foolish. Yeah, you'll make a couple extra bucks right now, but the more and more you keep giving people a bad movie-going experience, the less and less likely it is that they're going to start coming back. Now, again, I want to make sure we contain this in that this is not happening at every theater. This is not an AMC-wide policy. But I have been getting a number of messages and screenshots that you guys have been sending me about, hey, look, here's my options for going to see a movie. And it's like, they're all these theaters trying to herd people into going to see 3D when people do not want 3D. Offer the option, but it shouldn't be at the expense of what everybody else wants to see. And it is frustrating to me because I love nothing more than the theater going experience. And the theaters themselves, the caretakers, the stewards of this sacred event for movie fans going to the movie theaters are just crapping all over it. 3D has got to die. Nobody wants it. Nobody wants to pay extra for it. And you're forcing people to do it so you can make a couple extra fucking bucks. It's stupid. Anyway, Rob, there are people out there who appreciate a good 3D presentation. I know you're one of them. You appreciate, but you see something like this. I don't know. What are you thinking?
First of all, the reason that 3D died is because, for the most part, the presentation of 3D was terrible. The theater owners, if you're going to do 3D in a movie theater, you've got to make sure your bulbs are bright enough. Half the time when you watched a 3D movie, and we get great 3D, the 3D is great now, but if you're not seeing it projected properly, it's terrible. That's why I don't even go see 3D in the theater anymore, but I do buy the Blu-rays in the UK because they still put out 3D Blu-rays. I have all the MCU movies that were made in 3D. I have Last Jedi and I have Force Awakens in 3D.
And how are your bulbs?
My bulbs are always bright. Home 3D is great.
That could go a number of ways.
Home 3D is great, and I love it. Unfortunately, it's dying.
Do you have the paper glasses, or do you have custom?
No, I've got real nice, very nice 3D glasses. But unfortunately, can you get a 3D TV anymore? No. So I'm keeping my 3D TV close. But here's the thing. Like you said, John, I will only go see 3D presentations if they're in laser projected IMAX. That's it, because they're great. And I have tickets to both the 3D presentation at the Dome and the 2D IMAX presentation at the Chinese, both at 6 o'clock. I'm still deciding where I'm going to go, but I have the tickets. And I
got to do the Chinese, man. The history.
That's why I think I'm going to go do the Chinese, because I'll get Rise of Skywalker in 3D for the home. But I do think that what they're trying to do is wrong. I think you need to get, as evidenced by your poll, nobody wants to see 3D anymore because they have been screwed over too many times. Too many times have people go to see 3D presentations that are too dim to enjoy. That was the theater owners. They never took it seriously. They didn't, unless it was Avatar, which everyone saw in IMAX and it was done correctly. I think you're right. I think 3D theatrically in this country, not necessarily in Europe and certainly not in China, should die. But here, our own greed undercut the ability of 3D to break through and succeed. And I don't think we should be showing it theatrically.
Aaron, you hear about this story, and I know you love going to the movies. I know your husband loves going to the movies, all that kind of stuff. What's your first reaction when you hear about fans trying to find a screening to go see the movie, but they're just kind of forcing them, if you want to see it, you got to see it in 3D?
I think it's terrible. And it's exactly like you said. It's limiting the fans' ability to decide what they want to see, what we want to see, and forcing people to watch it in a format that they may not necessarily want to. I mean, also, Robert, tell me if I'm mistaken in this. I know when I've sat in a movie theater for 3D, I feel like if I'm not sitting in a certain spot, like if you're sitting off to the side, or especially if you get stuck way down front, you're not having the same experience. You're not seeing the same movie.
Yeah, you go off access.
It's
right.
Yes.
And so if a theater isn't actually built, the structure is not created in a way that's conducive to watching a 3D film, then you're also not going to be able to enjoy it, no matter how bright their bulbs are burning.
Right.
So that's also an issue for me. and one of the reasons why I haven't really enjoyed the 3D theater experience. What I'm also surprised at is why these studios are making these films 3D when clearly the audience doesn't want it. Like, I don't know all the technical aspects of how a movie is 3D or it's not. Is it the way that it's shot from the get-go, or like I don't know, and I am curious, so I'm going to do some research into that just for my own knowledge. But I would think that if you want people to see the film in theater, make the film in the format that people want to see it. And then if you want to do a special, oh my God, now we're releasing it in 3D for the 11% of people out there who want to see it like that, and we're only going to show it at certain theaters to make sure that it's shown exactly the way that it's supposed to be. Do that, but let people see the movie the way that people want to see the movie. Otherwise, people just aren't going to see the movie.
You keep undermining the theater going. Little anecdote here. Spider-Man Far From Home.
Did pre-order the 3D, but there's no release date in the UK for that disc yet, John.
Oh, good to know. Good to know. I go to the press screening, and what happens in some press screenings, if it's a bigger movie, instead of just one screen, they'll have the press screening on 2 separate screens. So you get to the theater, and they go, and I remember for Far From Home, there was an option. You can go into the 3D theater and watch Spider-Man Far From Home in 3D, or you can go into the 2D theater. So I got there a little bit later than I normally do. So I usually show up to these press screenings about a good half hour early. I got there about 15 minutes early. So there was already a lineup of about 15 or 20 other journalists. Now, these are film journalists who watch movies for a living. I got about 15 or 20 people in front of me. And as the person in the front of the line got to the sign-in, they said, great. And they have 3D glasses. Would you like the 2D screening or would you like the 3D screening? 2D, please. And they go off this way. The next person in line, they went off that way too. The next person in line, they went off that way. All 15 to 20 people who were in front of me all went into the 2D screening. And thank God I was in line where I was, because only about 2 other people after me got in. And then after that, everybody else got shuffled into the 3D. But even people who watch movies for a living were all choosing to go in to watch it on the 2D screening. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just, again, look, I know there are people who enjoy 3D, and that's great. I'm not saying eradicate 3D, but get to the point where what you're presenting reflects what it is the audience wants. If 9 out of 10 people want it in 2D, make sure 9 out of 10 of your screenings are 2D offerings. If there's 10% of your audience who wants 3D, make sure you got about 10% of your screenings have that offering, not the other way around. Anyway, that's just my thought. What do you guys think about this whole situation? What's that?
3D when I'm on a ride at Disneyland. I don't want to sit there for an hour and a half to 2 hours with things flying at. It's just too much. Like, leave me alone. I want you to be on the screen.
Or is that about your porn, your porn career?
I don't want all these dicks flying in my face for 2 hours.
By the way, Universal Studios, the Transformers ride at Universal Studios.
Is that what happened on that ride? I never went on it.
It's certainly changed a lot since I was there as a kid.
Oh, the Megatron dicks flying at your face is terrible.
They can transform into be just how you want them.
I was going to say the 3D on that ride is fantastic. The 3D on the also Universal Studios, the King Kong experience is amazing.
Oh wow, I bet the 3D.
It's some kind of D on that.
I now know there is no coming back from that. So what do you guys think about all this?
From that?
Oh,
wow,
let's keep it going.
Jump down in the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right. With that down, let's move on to our 5th and final main topic today. And our 5th and final main topic today comes to us from Christopher, who writes, what does it mean when an actor is, quote unquote, in talks to play a role? And why does it take so long for them to be in talks for the role? All right, Christopher, you know what? I read this message and I thought, I'm surprised other people haven't asked that. Because quite often in the reports that come out, the term is always used. The actor is now in talks. Now, thankfully, we've got somebody here who's truly going to know the answer to this. So,
Robert?
That's when they go to their therapist. Yeah. Should I take this role? I don't know.
I don't know. And I have to.
Who knows?
I'm scared of horses.
I'm on Star Destroyers.
No Last Jedi for you. Yeah.
I want to give what I think it is, because I don't want to cheat and have Aaron give the right answer and then me pretend I had the right. This is what the way I've always interpreted in talks. All right, and then I want to go over to you, Aaron, and see what it really is. My interpretation of in talks is this: the process of the studio, the production, trying to decide who they want in the role is now done. They've decided they want this person. And that person said, yeah, I'd like to be in this project. At that point, that's when the negotiations start about scheduling, salary, residuals, whatever. That's when all the contract negotiations start. So they've chosen who they'd like to be in the role. The actor or performer has chosen the yes, they'd like that role. Now they just got to get the details done and hammered out. Aaron, as the only person here who really has probably been through that process, how close am I? How far off am I?
You pretty much nailed it. You're the only thing that I would amend slightly is that they haven't just chosen who they want, they've actually made an official offer. Because legally, once you make an offer to an actor, that offer stands. So like if I'm casting a film, I can't make you, John, an offer and also make you, Robert, an offer, and whichever one comes back to me first.
Explain for the people out there what an offer actually is.
Okay. So let's say that, and I'm going to keep the math real simple on this. I'm making a $100,000 movie, and so I'm going to offer my lead actor $1,000. Okay, that's obviously not what the actual cost would be, but let's just say for the sake of argument. So I have $1,000 budget for my lead actor, and I say, Minnie Mouse, you are perfect for this role. But actually, even before that, what would happen is we would hire a casting director, and the casting director would make a list, and they would go, these are all the actors that makes sense for this role. And a lot of times, producers and the director, maybe the writer will also have their own lists. And so they'll go through the lists. And a lot of times the casting directors who are very knowledgeable about actors, it's their job, they'll know immediately who's unavailable. They'll know immediately, okay, well, this person, it's going to be really hard to get them to do that for that amount of money. So they'll start going through the list and they'll start cutting people. If this is a situation where they're having auditions and they don't necessarily go straight for an offer name, then they'll hold auditions and they'll whittle it down. And then sometimes if you have a big star, then they'll just go ahead and say, hey, we're ready to, we want you in this role, and we're ready to give you, to make an offer of what we will pay you and how we'll sweeten this deal. So you get a written, and it's called an offer. You'll get a written offer that says, this is how much we're going to pay you. Maybe these are some of the perks, like back end points or producer credits or whatever. It won't have all the specifics, but it'll have the basic nuts and bolts of this is what we're willing to offer you. Now, once that offer is made, usually the actor has a certain amount of time in order to respond to that. And during that period of time, they can't offer the role to anybody else.
Right. And
if they do, then they have to pay the actor what they've already offered them or negotiate some version of that. So you really want to be careful when you're making offers to people that you actually want that person to play the role, because once you offer it to them, that is a legally binding contract. Now, that being said, if things don't work out in the negotiation, like for example, I was offered the lead role in a movie with a producer credit, and it was a decent amount of money. And so I was like, oh, okay, this sounds great. They sent over the script. I read the script. There were very clear script problems that for me as an actor, I just couldn't wrap my head around doing it. So I said, okay, I'd like to do this project, but can we work out some of these plot points? That's sometimes an issue. I know in the case of, what was the movie that Angelina Jolie did? It was originally written for a man, and then
Salt? Was it
Salt? Yeah. So that's another situation where Angelina Jolie might hear about a project and go, hey, or her production company says, hey, there's this really great project, or someone from the studio says, hey, can you read this and read for the role of, the wife or whatever? And then she reads it and goes, I'm not playing the wife, I'm playing the lead character. Change it around. So a lot of times the in talks will go through either script changes or salary disputes, or, and it can all boil down to a lot of things. Sometimes it's a case of, I don't want to leave Los Angeles. I've got 2 kids in elementary school, and I'm not going away for 6 months to Bulgaria to film your movie. If you can figure out a way to film it in Los Angeles, I'll do it. And sometimes that's another reason why the in talks take so long, because if you really want an actor and the actor really wants to do it, you sometimes have to move a lot of mountains in order to make it amenable to everyone. So I hope that explains it well.
I think that was a wonderful explanation.
Great.
I feel like I've learned some things here now, too.
That's what I'm here for. I'm not here, contrary to popular belief, I am not here to be an expert on movies and television. I'm just here to be the actor and offer what I know.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned, because it's good that comes out now, because we just had the whole Jonah Hill thing with the Batman movie. Because we knew he was in talks to play. We still don't know 100% for sure what the role was. But he was in talks, and then all of a sudden he was out, because I think that process exactly that you were talking about. Anyway, guys.
And sometimes the timing doesn't work out either. You know, sometimes it can be like, okay, we started these conversations and I could do it in this moment, but now I don't have time to do it anymore because you guys have fiddle farted around for so long. Wow, fiddle farted and fuck twat, two of my favorite words, and they were both used today. So yeah, there you go.
Question is, guys, does that clear things up for you? Does that spread, the curtains have been spread apart now, you can see clearly what's behind the curtain? Jump down to the comment section below and let me know any thoughts you guys have on that. Okay. With that down, guys, we're going to move into our live questions today. But before we get to those live questions, we're going to take a short 3.5-minute break here to stretch the legs, refill the drink, all that kind of stuff. So if you will hang tight with us for just a couple of minutes, we will be right back. We'll see you momentarily. back. Thank you guys for indulging us as we took a little bit of a break there. All right, let's not waste any time. Let's jump into the live questions here. Rob, get us kicked off here. What's going on?
The bearded one says, NBA is back. So excited.
Yeah, the Toronto Raptors are 1-0. The Lakers are 0-1. So it's going to be an interesting season, that's for sure.
It's another year where there are no Seattle Supersonics.
That's true.
The bearded one also says, people either wanted more from the Star Wars trailer and some thought it was fine without showing too much of the story or spoilers. Can't please all.
Here's the problem. That is a complete misnomer because that is suggesting that it's either give away tons of spoilers or tell nothing.
Right.
There is a middle ground there. And a lot of trailers have gotten that middle ground. By the way, Aaron, what did you think about that trailer? If you had a chance to see it yet. But you were in transport, so I don't know if you had a chance to see it yet.
I just woke up yesterday
Okay,
from being in recovery mode. Ask me tomorrow.
All right, fair enough. All right, what's next?
Zombitron5678 says, most underrated franchises in your opinion? For me, it's Star Wars just because there physically isn't enough people that has ever been alive to love it.
Well, yeah, you cannot say Star Wars. Paddington. The Paddington Bear movies. I mean, there's only 2 right now. Hopefully there's going to be a 3rd. It is ridiculous how good those movies are. Do you got an underrated one, Rob?
Tough Turf. There's only one Tough Turf movie.
It's not a franchise.
There was never a franchise made of it, so it's my most under. Because why couldn't Robert Downey Jr. and James Spader and Olivia Berge come back with Jack Mack and the Heart Attack and do a second film? I don't know.
Do you got a franchise you think is underrated, Aaron?
Breakin'. Breakin' 2. Breakin' 2 Electric Boogaloo.
Come on, with Shabadoo.
It filled a lot of people's hearts with joy, that franchise, guys. A lot of joy. All right, what's next?
Nosferatu says, do you believe the restored Jedi Order will be the same as it was in the prequels? Also, did you notice the battle droid in the trailer? You'll see it all in the background behind C-3PO.
Did you see that, Rob?
I did not.
I didn't see it either. I remember in the prequel era, the Jedi had already kind of fallen apart. Like they were already, even Qui-Gon Jinn was like, we're not really what we should be. So I don't think we're going to see it just like it was there. Honestly, I think the name The Rise of Skywalker is a reference. I don't know this. I think it's a reference to a new breed of Jedi that are going to be known as Skywalker. So I think it'll be different. I know, Aaron, you haven't seen the trailer yet, so we won't bother with that. All right, what's next?
What's next? Sidious Swift says, I just wanted to say I've been a big fan, and I've been watching you since your toddler days.
Aww,
just kidding. You folks have been great.
Aw, thank you so much, Sidious. It's always nice when people want to write in just to say something nice. And yeah, man, we've been doing this for a while, but it's always great to have people along. Thank you so much for that. All right, what's next?
Shazni in Quiver says, top 3 most anticipated of 2020. 1, Tenet. 2, 007. 3, Dune.
It's hard to argue with that list.
I love that list. I would just reorder it a bit.
Yeah, I mean, Dune would probably be number 1 for me right now. Then probably Tenet. Then maybe 007. But there might be some other ones I would want to throw. Like I'm actually very excited about Wonder Woman.
Me too.
And there's a number of them I'm also really curious about. But that's a good one. Do you have a particular one you're really looking forward to most in 2020, Aaron?
I think Wonder Woman for sure. I will be there.
I love Patty Jenkins.
Me too.
Where's the Bond trailer? Is another day going to go by where there's no Bond trailer?
I think it's another day. Soon.
Another day with no trailer. That's actually the name of the next Bond movie.
Another day with no trailer.
Chris Parsons says Dune is a
wait,
Shazni
it's a
Quivers
compliment.
back again. The best movie talk show. Love the dynamic and the crew.
Aw, thanks so much, dude.
Thanks.
Appreciate that, man. Very much. All right, what's next?
Chris Parsons, Dune is a story bigger than I thought. I thought it just took place in a desert world with giant worms. Is the one with Patrick Stewart worth watching? Well, it's a little wacky, I do say so myself, but I like Dune. It came out within 2 weeks of 2010 in the Christmas season of 1984, and boy, was I excited.
Yeah, I got a kick into that Dune movie with Patrick Stewart. I liked it. I mean, it's weird seeing Captain Picard in that movie. It is a little bit, but I got a kick out. Have you ever seen that Dune movie?
No, I was just about to ask you, does one need to watch that before seeing the new one? I mean,
No,
obviously
it's a remake.
It's totally, okay.
Yeah, it's not a sequel or a follow-up or anything like
okay.
that. All right, what's next?
Either Audrey says, 1 of 5? Ooh. Since it was mentioned earlier this week, my anime recommendation is Sword Art Online, the first anime I saw which got me into the genre in the first place. SAO follows Corrido, as he and many others are trapped in a VR Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. I know, massive multiplayer online, where they can fail. They can fail in real life and they fail in the game, and can only escape by beating it. However, I can only recommend SAO with a caveat: the first half of season 1, the Encarade story, is mostly great with some iffy spots, but the second half, Alfheim is hit or miss, with the ending being bad. Season 2, Gun Gale Online, is an improvement. And overall, but has logic issues if you think about it deeply. Season 3 is absolute garbage, and I had to stop halfway through.
Sorry for the weird wording. Super chat. Well, first of all, I have never even heard of this particular one.
I have not either.
Because I know you've seen a number of these things, Rob, but that's not one that's been on your radar. Seriously, I love it when people write in with these recommendations, and it's not. I bring this up a lot. A lot of these times I've never seen it, and look, anime is not my favorite genre. It's not really for me per se, but I constantly get people writing into me either on Twitter or in the comment section, whatever, saying, "Oh, dude, I went to check out that thing that the guy on the super chat gave a recommendation for, and I love it." It's always cool that we've got the film fans recommending things for other film fans and breakdown. Now, since I've never even heard of Sword Art Online either, I can't comment on your commentary on that because I haven't seen it at all. But I'm sure there's probably hundreds of people watching this right now. They're going, yep, and talking all about that right now, which is one of the best things. One of the great things about the show is it's not just the viewers talking with us, it's the viewers actually communicating with each other and getting stuff from each other, because there's a lot more knowledge and wisdom in the collective. So a little bit of Borg mentality there. All right, what's next?
Luke1234 says, higher ticket and concession prices, 30 minutes of ads, and late show times. Theaters are using the movie-going experience to destroy the movie-going experience.
Look, I have a little bit of sympathy for the movie theater owners. I worked with AMC for a while. I understand their profit margins are razor thin. Like, you might think, oh, they charge me $6 for a thing of popcorn. They're making money hand over fist. No, it's a razor thin margin. I've always understood the expensive price of concession stands. I get it. That's where how they make their money to keep the lights on. They don't get a lot of money from the movie tickets. So I get all that. It is a precarious dance that they do. It really is. But at the same time, you have to be wise about understanding that we only make any money if people come to the establishment. And if we keep doing things to ruin the experience, saying a movie starts at 7 and then not really starting until 7:35, having people pay a high ticket price to then sit down and watch commercials, not giving them, if we're going to charge them $6 for a thing of popcorn, we better damn well make sure it's some good popcorn, and more importantly, some good butter. And if they want to see a movie in 2D, let's not frickin' try to hurdle them like sheep into watching a 3D thing. The movie theaters are the ones that are the gatekeepers of the movie-going experience, and they have got to start taking the overall enjoyment of the guests more seriously. I get it. You need to do things to try to make more money, but you cannot do it at the sacrifice of the movie-going experience. And I think that's where they got to pick it up. I think that's where they really got to pick it up. All right, sorry about that. What's next?
Arbor Missouri says, watched Lighthouse at the Dome in Hollywood. Fresh popcorn, great tasting soda, and usher escorted me to my seat. A+ theater experience. The movie was great.
Huh.
Rob, you go there a lot.
I love the ArcLight. I love the Dome. And I did see, it wasn't in the Dome, but I did see the Lighthouse there Monday night. And it's always a delightful experience.
Have you gone to the ArcLight in Hollywood there often, Aaron?
Oh, yeah, I have. I saw Dreamgirls there.
Ooh.
Yeah, that was fun.
I got to tell you.
I mean, I've seen other things there since then. That was like 15 years ago. But yes, I have.
It's an expensive, it's not a cheap theater to go to.
No.
But they really do give you a very good movie-going experience. Mm-hmm. Very limited trailers.
3 trailers, that's it.
They require that you be in the theater by showtime. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, they don't let you in, which means less distractions when you're in the audience. They have their showtimes displayed on these big boards. They give you plenty of food and drink options. They charge you a premium price, but they really do give you a premium experience. And it's one of the good ones there. All right. I
love it.
What is next?
Nathan Oswald says, birthdays today. Emilia Clarke is 33. Ryan Reynolds is 43. Weird Al is 60.
Wow.
Sam Raimi is 60. Ong Lee is 65. And Philip Kaufman is 83. Philip Kaufman, who directed The Right Stuff and wrote Raiders. Well, the story for Raiders.
And Emilia Clarke is still a girl I'm waiting for. You know, I loved her in Game of Thrones. I did, but I have not, I gotta say, I've not been really wowed by her in anything else
Shut,
yet.
you know we're just all waiting for Last Christmas to open. I mean, I know it, you know it, we all know it.
Well,
That
let me
looks so
ask you this. Have you seen her in anything that you've been like, wow, I really like her as an actor?
Well, no. That's the thing. Other than Game of Thrones, which I very much liked her portrayal in that, obviously didn't like her in that Terminator movie she did. She did that one with the kid from Hunger Games with Sam Claflin. She did that one with Sam Claflin. I'm trying to remember the name of it. The movie poster is her sitting on his lap in a chair in some golden fields or whatever. I can't remember, but I remember going.
I like when she's on the Graham Norton show. She's adorable.
I've seen interviews with her and she's delightful.
Totes adorbs.
So I'm willing to still give it a chance. I'm just saying at this point I haven't quite been sold on her yet outside of Game of Thrones. Who knows? Maybe Last Christmas, as dumb as it looks, maybe that'll be the one.
Well, I think there's also sometimes we want to see a certain, like we get used to an actor being a certain way,
Yep.
or maybe that character is the best thing that they do. I mean, not to take away from Emilia Clarke or put her in the same category as this person, but January Jones was nominated for an Emmy for Mad Men. She's awful. I'm sorry. She's terrible. In anything where she does not have to stand there and look and with this sort of glazed over look. If you put her in anything else, she's not going to be good. She was great as Betty Draper, but she's not going to be good in anything else. So sorry, January Jones. I'm not trying to dog on but that's the one thing, and hence we haven't seen a lot of January Jones since then. So I don't think that that's the case with Emilia Clarke. I think that her role in Game of Thrones offered us a wide range of her talent. I just don't think that she's gotten the right roles since then.
Maybe Last Christmas will be it.
It's a breakthrough hit.
That's the one. All right, what's next?
Jonathan Spiroff says, Apple's Foundation series is casting. Between this and the upcoming Dune film, this is a great time for sci-fi fans. Hopefully, Hyperion is next. Jonathan, I cannot tell you, everything you just wrote makes me so excited. Jared Harris is playing Harry Seldon. My entire life, I've wanted to see somebody play Harry Seldon, and now I'm going to see it. Harry Seldon, the guy who came up with Psycho History. I cannot wait for Foundation.
Fresh off of Chernobyl, too. Fresh off of Chernobyl. All right,
And
what's
Mad
next?
Men. Christopher Benson says, so Bloodshot is hard to kill meets Upgrade.
Isn't that what you said yourself?
Yeah, I said it was like Upgrade.
It's basically Upgrade and something else. You probably, again, with the travel, you probably haven't seen the Bloodshot trailer yet. It's the new Vin Diesel
I'm spending
movie.
my entire afternoon watching trailers.
Yeah, and a lot have come out recently, as a
Yes.
matter of fact. All right, what's next?
Matthew Grant says, how has Ashley been doing? Love you guys.
As a matter of fact, Ashley and I just exchanged emails like a few weeks ago. It looks like she's quite busy. I still follow her on Instagram, and she'll still follow my stuff. So it looks like she's been getting more and more increasingly busy, which is always a good thing.
I like her Instagram feed.
Yeah, she's great. She's got a great Instagram feed.
Hi, Ashley.
All right, what's next?
The Mandalorian of Gondor says, regarding the ticking comment, my girlfriend and I revolved our work schedules so that we would be free before halftime. However, they sold before the game even started. I get that it avoids traffic, but it's deceptive and caused a lot of headaches here in LA. You said if a theater has a movie showtime at X time, it should start at that time. Why not the same principle when a studio says tickets go on sale at X time? Not all of us have the privilege of walking down our street to our local theater.
It's a different thing. Don't try to equate. I get it. It caused a little bit of a pain in the ass for some people, but when the tickets go on sale, who cares? Who cares? I mean, look, I was in Vegas when the tickets for Endgame went on sale. And I had to wait till the next day to get my tickets. Now, that was more because of a crash of the system and all that kind of stuff and whatever. But no, I don't, let's not pretend like what the exact time is that the tickets go on sale is as important as what the show time is. So, no, I think they did that specifically to alleviate the problem, because remember, we would have been giving them a much harder time if they had the same problems that they had with Endgame. Much harder time. And if they figured out that by dropping them a few hours early helped alleviate how much of a rush all hit at the same time, and that made for a better experience for more customers, that's probably that still meant a little bit of a pain in the ass for some of us, but it gave a better experience for a lot of people than the Endgame experience, because that was a nightmare for everybody.
And it's not like concert ticket sales where once they sell out, they're sold out, and you can never see that you can never have that concert experience. You just maybe have to go another day.
Also, it's you're looking at time zones too. You know, you have to remember you're on East Coast time when this stuff's going, so you got to be looking, you got to be watching. It's like watching an HBO
I acknowledge
feed.
it created a bit of pain in the ass for some people. But go back to what happened that fateful day when Endgame tickets went on sale. It was a nightmare for everybody.
We're all living that nightmare.
And we all lived that nightmare. And if they found a way that by doing it a certain way, it actually alleviated the stress on the ticket sales services, and it created for a better ticket purchasing experience for the vast majority of people, it was probably the right move. Again, I don't think you can equate that to movie actual show times. I don't think you can equate that. Anyway, that's just my thought on that. Sorry that you had a bad experience with them, and that does suck. It really does. I don't want to undermine that. All right, what's next?
Monin, why is Scarlett Johansson so goddamn beautiful?
I don't know.
God made her that way.
I attribute it to that she's got some Canadian blood in her. I attribute a lot of that to that. She, of course, dated a good Canadian for a long time. Her and Ryan Reynolds were together for a long time. So can I just say that that's really unfair? That Ryan Reynolds not only gets to be Canadian, which is awesome, but he's also stupidly good looking. I mean, look, I'm as boringly heterosexual as they come, but I wouldn't turn down a hug from that man. I mean, he's
very funny and charismatic.
Extremely funny. He's married to
Blake Lively.
Who
ain't too shabby herself.
Dated
Adeline,
Scarlett
man. I could watch that
Johansson.
forever.
I mean, there's just only
She
so
has
much.
hair like Rapunzel.
By the way, I really like Blake Lively.
Me too.
A lot. There was a not great movie she was in, but I thought she was fabulous. It was the Oliver Stone movie. What was it called? Savages?
Yeah, she was good in that.
She was
Really
really
good.
good in that.
So good in that.
Based on the Don Winslow novel.
Anyway, it's so unfair.
I directed her older sister once, Lori.
Really?
Yeah, she's in Free Enterprise.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
There you go. We got a connection.
There's a whole.
So
there's a
basically,
whole-
what you're saying is like we're one step away from Blake Lively. She's practically in the living room right now.
Yeah. I mean, there it is. It's like she's here.
Well,
All right. What's next?
Captain Confidence Entertainment.
What a great name.
Basic Instinct and 9.5 Weeks were my sexual awakening movies.
Ooh.
You wanted to get stabbed in the face with an ice pick? What movies shaped, perhaps ruined, your views of attraction, relationships, and sex? Can I just answer this? I love those movies. And Sharon Stone in Basic Instinct, despite the fact that she's a psychopathic maniac who does kill men in the act of love with an ice pick to the face, I would
Allegedly, Rob.
Allegedly.
I have a quarter scale statue of her right above my computer, and I think Basic Instinct is a fine movie to have a sexual awakening with.
You know what? The first movie as a kid, and it was an unintentional move by my parents because they took me to the drive-in to see one movie, and it was a double feature. And it was the first movie as a kid that I saw some sexual content in. And it was a dumb comedy with Dabney Coleman called Young Doctors in Love.
Oh, I remember that.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And I was just a kid. I mean,
Isn't
When
that
I
a
think
Canadian
hot sex
production?
movies, I think Dabney Coleman. That's really gonna
Kids
usher me
love
into
Dabney
puberty.
Coleman.
but it was Young Doctors in Love. That was the first one where I went, what's that? Mom, there are boobs on the screen. I mean, that was the first. Do you got one, Aaron?
I think mine was Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh, yeah. That's another
because
good one. I think that was one for a lot of people.
I remember Phoebe Cates coming out of the swimming pool.
Oh, yeah.
In that bathing suit.
I still do too.
And I
So does
remember
everybody.
being like, oh, that's a thing. Like I'm not even I don't even identify as a lesbian, but I can definitely identify as someone that goes, okay, I think that, yeah, that's making things move in places.
Yeah.
You know? And then there's also there was also like the girl that have sex, and they had it was like this whole private. Yeah, there was like a lot of sneaking around. But that was a big one
for a lot of people. I think that's a really good pick.
Fast Times at Ridgemont High. It was all about that like teen angst and exploring your sexuality and, you know, the secretiveness of it and sneaking around and all that kind of delicious.
And it introduced
stuff.
a lot of people to the great, not Judge Dredd, but Judge
Reinhold.
Judge Reinhold.
Yeah.
Who then went on to do Beverly Hills Cop and like 1,000 other things.
I gotta say though, I was a little older, but there's a movie called Two Moon Junction that stars Richard Tyson and Sherilyn Fenn. And it is about a Southern belle and the relationship she has with a man from the wrong side of the tracks. That was directed by Zalman King, who wrote 9.5 Weeks. And let me just tell you, if you don't know Zalman King's movies, you should.
All right, let's move on. What's next?
What's next is Duke Silver says, Aaron, what's more important to you as an actress? The size of your role and how you relate to it, expect yourself to perform, or the group of people you'll be working with? Good to have you back.
Oh, thanks, Duke. I think more than anything, it's the group of people that I'll be working with, because I've had opportunities to have a larger role in something, but my first question is always who's involved with it, because that's really going to dictate the kind of experience I have. If they're people who have never worked before, then I know that I'm going to have a certain kind of experience, and not saying that I would turn it down, but there would have to be some incentives involved in that. But I have definitely taken small roles for very little money just to be able to work with certain actors or certain directors or writers. So for me, the type of people that I get a chance to work with, that's going to be more than anything. That's going to make more sense.
All right, what's next?
Tom Gillard says, I didn't mind Leto's Joker. I just can't feel bad for a guy who sent used condoms and dead rats to his castmates. If you're WB, why would you want to work with him again after that?
Here's the thing, though. And I'm like, buckle in, congregation, because I'm about to preach some truth at you, all right? I'm about to preach some truth at you. Guess what? Everybody says that now. But if Suicide Squad ended up being beloved, like, say, The Dark Knight, if Suicide Squad ended up being like $1.5 billion movie and all the critics loved it and all the fans loved it, it had like Dark Knight, guess what? We'd be telling these anecdotal stories about this movie was so good. You know what Jared Leto did to get into character? He even did this. And we would be talking about that as one of the great folk tales of acting if it was a movie that everybody else loved. Because winning cures everything. And when a movie ends up being a bit of a disaster, we look more negatively. Look, I don't care that he did some really strange, stupid things. I don't care because I'm not there. Like, I feel bad for some of the actors who have made them uncomfortable. But none of that, I think, excuses. Like, if a dude gets hit by a car and breaks his leg, I'm not going to go, well, you know, I really didn't like your fantasy football picks last week, so I can't feel bad for you. I mean, I don't get that. And I'm just telling you right now, I think the public perception of that, what I also agree was pretty stupid things that he did, I think the public perception of that would be so different if the movie was beloved. Because we excuse everything when we love the movie that comes from.
Can I offer a retort to that? So the great Sir Laurence Olivier and Dustin Hoffman were working together on the great 70s thriller Marathon Man. And there were scenes, because Dustin Hoffman was a method actor, he would stay up for 2 days before he did this torture scene. And Laurence Olivier, one of the greatest actors who ever lived, said to Dustin, you know, Dustin, it is called acting. Perhaps you don't have to put yourself through all these things. Mm-hmm. Just saying.
I know, but that comes down to the big debate between method acting and not method acting. But I mean, the fact is, that is what he is. Like, when Daniel Day-Lewis does a lot of stuff. I've never heard of him sending dead rats to his castmates before.
Right.
But I also wouldn't put it by him.
But the difference, though, is that the stuff that he does not impede the ability of other actors to do their jobs. And it does not threaten their safety and their well-being. So when Donnie Wahlberg decided to like live in a dumpster for a month to prepare for I See Dead People, whatever that movie was, you know what I'm talking about? Bruce Willis, I See Dead People.
You're just Sixth Sense.
Sixth Sense, yeah. When he decided to literally...
I thought you said icy dead people. I'm like, what movie has icy
Frozen.
dead people? Frozen. There you go.
Frozen meets World War Z. When he decided that he wanted to put his own safety and well-being on the line, or when Christian Bale or Matt Damon decides that they want to, drill holes into their heart by losing an exorbitant amount of weight to get to a certain weight in order to be able to portray a role convincingly, that's their method. I think that the term method acting sometimes is used to excuse unnecessary and unprofessional behavior. It's one thing to really get into your character. It's another thing to throw that on your coworkers, and it's just not professional. So I think, because also if you look at a case like Batman Begins, Katie Holmes was not brought back for The Dark Knight. There's a reason for that. Life's too short. People fall into the heading of life's too short, and a studio just goes, you know what? We're just not dealing with it. And people get replaced. Happens all the time. It happens to Terrence Howard in Iron Man. For whatever reason, the studio just said, you know what? Life's too short. And that's what happened with Jared Leto. I do think that his method hijinks hurt him. I don't think that they helped him at all.
I honestly think it's blown out of proportion. I really do. It's not like he went into Will Smith's trailer and started calling his mother a whore. It's just, I'm not.
Well, I'm glad that you feel that way, because I have a box of used condoms that will be delivered
of course
here.
You do.
Via FedEx
Are they
this
Megatrons?
afternoon.
Are they Megatron?
Megatron 3-dick condoms.
I am not saying I am not defending what he did, and nor am I saying what he did was cool and okay. But it was something he decided to try to do. It wasn't a wise move. It made some other people feel uncomfortable. Okay. Mm-hmm. But for us to then, I think a lot of people have taken that and elevated. Well, I think that's because a lot of us take that and elevated it to be as if, he slapped somebody on set for not having his lighting right. I don't know. It's just, to me, I always felt it was a little bit overplayed or a little bit overblown. But, that's just me. I've never been in that situation. So I'm speaking completely from a theoretical, completely out of my ass point of view. I've never been in that situation.
I could maybe say that if unanimously across the board, his performance, regardless of how the movie did, if his performance was like so unbelievable that everyone unanimously was like, yeah, it worked, maybe. But people are still on the fence about his performance. So if you're going to do all of those shenanigans and you're still not going to have the performance of a lifetime, then what was the point?
Well, but I think that was his intent. That's the part of that I think everybody forgets, is that the intent of that was him really trying. Now, right or wrong, failed or succeeded, I think the underlying thing there was his intent was he was trying to bring something out of himself that he thought would be able to get him to portray an even better Joker than he did. Now, we can debate whether he succeeded at that or failed terribly at it, but I think it's important to keep in mind that his intent was not to just be a schlocky douchebag. His intent was, I want to try to bring something out of myself, and maybe I think doing this will help me do that.
But the actor must go within.
I'm not, whether it was succeeded or not, I'm just saying I think that was his intent.
And when has the Joker ever sent condoms and dead rats to people in the pages of comic books?
Probably more than we think. It was all just, off.
I don't know if that's canonical.
What's next?
Andrew Lee says, I use the phrase getting Sarah Connored to derisively refer to the character lamely dying off screen. I hope Dark Fate allows me to retire that term.
What character, when did Sarah Connor die off screen?
Well, I think that's a good question.
Like
in Rise of the Machines.
Did she die off screen?
You see old John Connor, yeah, but there's no Sarah Connor.
Oh, really? Oh,
right?
Well, that's because I probably tried to shut that entire movie out of my mind.
Right.
So yeah, you're right. That's probably where that came. You're right. You're absolutely right.
Speaking of which, has who's the kid from the original Terminator, who's now not a kid? He's a dude.
Oh, why am I forgetting
from the original Terminator?
Yeah.
No, from Terminator 2.
Oh.
From Terminator 2. The kid who plays John Connor.
Yeah.
Why am I
freezing on his name?
Too?
We were just talking about him. I hear he's in the movie.
Well, I think he is, and here's a little insight, and this isn't one of my joking things. So we work out at the same gym, and dude has been he's been working out a lot.
Oh, good for him.
He's been not to say anything negative, he was not looking like he had been working out a lot, and he's doing really well. Like, I was like, hey, dude,
Well, good for him, because he's made some very unhealthy choices for his life.
Yeah.
It's good. It's always good to see somebody
like,
making
I
some
see him and I
healthy choices
never
for their
say
life.
anything, but I am always like, you know what? Good for him. Good for him. And it was right around the time that they were shooting, so I was like, I wonder if he's gonna be making an appearance.
All right, we got time for a few more while you guys are still here.
One Flock says, LOL, music for Raging Bull in Marvel movie, superhero boxing scene, or Godfather music with Nick Fury symbolizing Vito. LOL, love you, John, and the team.
What is
Love
he
you
asking?
too.
I don't know. Music for Raging Bull in a Marvel movie.
Like,
a superhero
there
boxing
hasn't
scene.
been. Is he asking theoretically?
Yeah, or Godfather music for Nick Fury symbolizing Vito.
Vito Corleone.
I guess.
LOL.
LOL.
We're just laughing out
I guess
loud.
is that theoretically? Which would we
would you
prefer?
change Nick Fury's theme to be Vito Corleone's
no,
theme?
you can't put the Godfather
Yeah.
music in a Marvel movie.
No.
Not unless they're in a theater watching The Godfather, and then you hear
Right.
that single
Can't
French
cross
horn.
franchises.
Does The Godfather exist in the MCU?
Probably does.
Does Coppola... Do Coppola and
Ooh,
Scorsese...
that's
do they
hard.
live in the MCU? Like,
That would be a nice little fuck you, is
Yeah.
to have them watching.
Yeah, they live in a garbage can with Oscar the Grouch. I mean, I would say One Flock that neither. I don't think neither would be appropriate. I don't think either would probably work out well. And thank you so much for writing that in, man. That's nice.
It was Edward Furlong.
Edward
that's right.
Furlong, that's the kid's name.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Not a kid anymore.
Yeah.
Tim
All right.
says, watch The Revenant again. Damn, that's a good movie. It really
Damn.
is. I love The Revenant.
Yeah, and there's some people. I had this debate the other day. Somebody saying, well, the only reason Leonardo DiCaprio got an Academy Award for that is because they just felt like they owed it to him. I'm like, no, screw that. He earned that Academy Award in Revenant. He was great in Revenant. Like, he did shit in that movie that he pushed himself to new levels in that. And I thought he totally deserved an Academy
And that
Award
was
for
not
that.
a comfortable shoot.
No, it
at
was
all.
not.
And they traveled around the world. They were chasing the snow
They shot most of it
in Canada.
in Canada. Yeah.
Yes, they did.
And all
Lucky
natural
them.
light.
Yep.
He used all natural light for that movie. I never
Sometimes they
really
can only get one shot off a day.
It was if you guys want to read a crazy story about hell, read the stories about what they went through making that movie. It's crazy. All right, what's
Brutal.
next?
Ed Musto, cinemas in the UK like Odeon are also forcing 3D.
Also in Canada, and I'm sure it's not just AMC. But let me again, I said it before, but it's important to say this. I'm not saying that chain-wide all these theaters are doing this, and I'm not even saying it's happening in most theaters. Well, it's select theaters and handfuls of theaters, but they are there. And it's got to stop because they are diminishing the theater-going experience for people, and that's just going to turn people away from the movie theaters, and it's bad for business. So I hope they smarten up with that. All right, what's next? Initial.
Anatole Diaz.
Yeah, he pronounces it initial.
Initial D. I get
Initial
it. That's
Ds.
that's an anime. That's a Japanese movie. WB Aaron. Welcome back, Aaron, and congrats. How are you, John? I think the exclusive clips still coming for episode 9 will have the character interaction and plot details we want. Still, would have been nice for the final trailer, though.
Well, number one, I think he's absolutely right. I think we are going to get more. Well, look, we're going to get like 5, 6, 7, 8 more TV spots. That's coming, and maybe they will throw that in there. But none of those things are the official trailer. And again, I like the final trailer. Getting people saying, John, why didn't you like the Star Wars? I did like it. I'm just saying, for a final trailer, I feel like it was missing some elements. And that's my only point. So I'm completely with you, Initial. I really am. And I'm doing well, thank you. Thank you for asking. I agree. It would have been nice to have that in the final trailer. All right, what's next?
Chi-Town Rules 09. I'm so excited for tonight, seeing Knives Out at the
Nice.
Chicago International Film Festival with Ryan Johnson in attendance. I can't wait to see Knives Out. It looks so good.
I wonder if there'll be a Q&A afterwards.
Oh, if he's there, I hope there is. I mean,
I would think
can't-
there would be.
I can't be there, but I'm dying to see this movie.
Yeah, me too.
I've heard nothing but glowing things about it, and I just, I'm revved to see it. All right,
Looks
what's
so
next?
good. Willow Yang is here. I've recently learned that the guy selling death sticks is named Ilan Sleazebagano.
Sleazebagano.
What do you think is the goofiest Star Wars name? Yeah, Sleazebagano.
That would be right up there. Salacious Scrum, it would be up there. I've always, even though it sounds a little Max Rebo, I've always thought it was a very weird one.
Snoodles?
Sly Snoodles, which I don't even like to acknowledge exists. There are a lot of crazy ones. But then again, if you're in a universe with all these alien races, you'd get some crazy ones. But that is definitely a crazy one for sure. All right, what's next?
Mike Schwenk says, loved Gemini Man, made me realize I too can write a big budget Hollywood movie. That script made me claw my eyes out, walked out hour and a half in.
I still enjoyed myself watching Gemini Man because of the visuals and the different technologies they used and the action. But I mean, I can't unfortunately disagree with anything you just said, Mike. I mean, the big problem with that movie was the script. It was pretty bad. And honestly, I said it, my first reaction, I still believe it, it felt like a first draft of a script. It felt like somebody went away for 1 week, wrote a first draft, and came back and they said, sure, let's shoot that. In reality, this is a script that they've been kicking around for decades. But it didn't feel like it. And,
I don't understand how that happens.
I don't
Because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you have starring in your film, how much your budget is, who's directing it, where it's shot, how many fireworks are going off or trucks are flipping over. If you don't have the story, it's not going to work. I mean, we've seen it time and time again. We've seen franchises fall. We've seen really good actors be made to look like fools. Really good directors have their entire careers destroyed because they want to push something through and just make it happen. But and when someone who's just watching the movie can see all the flaws, you can see the flaws on the page way before you see them when they're on the screen. And also, in the process of getting them to the screen, when they're being storyboarded, when people are figuring out the through lines, when there's all those holes and there's all those things that don't make sense, how does no one just stop and go, hold on?
I mean, I think there's something to be said about, it's one thing because you read it on the page, right? And it plays out in your head a certain way. And I can see, and we've heard Kevin Feige talk about this, but why Marvel now just plans their reshoots well in advance. They plan for each because they know that even though it looks a certain way on the page, once it actually starts getting fleshed out, we might feel differently. But this script was so weak that the dialogue was terrible. And that you can't read that dialogue and imagine in your head it coming across well. And it's so weird because, Joss Whedon infamously wrote the script for Cabin in the Woods over a long weekend. He wrote the script for Cabin in the Woods over a long weekend. Gemini Man's been around for almost 2 decades. I mean, it is a crazy thing. All right, last question we're going to ask with these guys still here, and then they've got things they got to do.
Brandon Blake says, The Force Awakens marketing had the Chewie, we're home moment. But those trailers told nothing about the story either, and it did pretty well.
Dude, sorry, you are objectively, fundamentally incorrect about that. You are absolutely incorrect about that. Let's just go back to, let's start with The Force Awakens. When you go back to the very first trailer, not even the second or third trailer, when you go back to the very first trailer of The Force Awakens, they still utilize a lot of that. The dialogue is being spoken while the imagery is something else going on, but you still did see in those first trailers the actual characters speaking and all that kind of stuff. And when you go back to the first trailer of The Force Awakens, it tells a story. The very first thing we see is Rey. Who are you? I'm nobody. And she's blah, blah, and all this. I've always known there was something more, and blah, and it tells her story. Then it moves on to Finn, a guy who's a stormtrooper, who's now disillusioned with what he is. He escapes from the First Order, crashes on this desert planet, now talking about he needs to find his way. Then it moves on to establishing that now there's this resistance. Now there's this First Order. And it tells a story that basically gave us an idea about what the movie was. When you fast forward then to The Last Jedi, it also very clearly tells a story. It sets us up showing that Rey is now on that island with Luke, all that kind of stuff, then talking about what she feels, all that kind of stuff, and then going to Luke, that whole scene where Luke is training her and the rocks crack and all that kind of stuff, and Luke saying to her, I've only felt this type of unbridled power once before. It didn't scare me then, it scared me now. This all tells the story of exactly where this movie is and what it's all setting up. This trailer did not do that. It did not tell any story. I just see Rey running around, and I'm a bad guy. And then, and then a little bit of the Emperor's voice. Again, to me, a great first trailer. It was not just a good first trailer, it would have been a great first trailer. But unlike the other Star Wars trailers, which told a story, without giving big spoilers away, it told a story that gave us the context of what the movie's. I just feel like this one didn't do that. It did a lot of other things right. I just didn't feel it did that. And I think there's a big difference. Rob, how do you spell that?
I agree with you. And remember, when we last saw our characters, the Resistance was basically the people that fit in the Millennium Falcon. That was it. I mean, the things were dire for them. And now in this movie, apparently they can muster a giant fighting force against a fleet of Star Destroyers. I mean, it doesn't even start where we last saw our characters.
I think it's supposed to be several years later
Maybe, but they could have at least... Look, a great trailer sets a stage. It sets a stage and it tells an audience the story that you're going to experience. It gives us a little bit of that. This trailer, I'm like... I would have said things are dire and done something that at least gave me a connection to the narrative that I've seen before and told me that I'm being led somewhere. Now I'm more confused and perplexed by what's happening next than anything else. I tell people, and a lot of people come back at me and said, oh, it showed too much. Go back and watch the final trailer for Revenge of the Sith. Does it tell a lot? Yes, but it is a killer trailer, and you are dying to see the movie, and it's all people talking to each other, interspersed with imagery. It sets up the table, exactly what you're going to see, and it feels epic. You're like, I have got to see this.
Yeah, and again, we are just talking about the trailer.
Yeah.
We're not talking about the movie. The movie may be the best movie ever made, might be the worst movie ever made, who knows. We're only talking about this one piece of marketing. All right, anyway, guys, that will wrap up our time here with Robert Meyer Burnett and Aaron. Rob, first of all, thanks so much for being here, dude. Where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at BurnettRM. Find me on Instagram at RMBurnett, or my own YouTube channel, The Burnett Work, and my show, Robservations.
And of course, we are so glad to have Aaron Cummings back. Aaron, where can people follow you and your stuff online?
You can find me on the social media world at Aaron L. Cummings. And you can also check out my podcast. It's called Kappa Kappa Cancer, your guide to the sorority you never wanted to join.
You should start a second Instagram account and just call that one Cookie Cummings.
I have 4 Instagram accounts.
No.
I do. I have the Aaron L. Cummings Instagram account. I have the Kappa Kappa Cancer Instagram account. I have the Instagram account for my side hustle, An Edible Tableau, which is all grazing tables and food design, which is like my little side hustle that I do. I don't actually get paid for it. I just do it for free for my friends, so I shouldn't even call it a hustle. And then, of course, my cat's Instagram page, which is at Rat Pack Cats.
Cats.
At Rat Pack Cats.
Yeah. It's
now just going to have to be Rat Pack Pets because the 3 of them, Frankie, Sammy, and Marty, are cats. But now we have Joey Bishop, who is a dog.
Did you get advance tickets to take them all to see cats?
Yes. We have, they each have their own seat, and they're going to be in their own little cat carriers. They're so excited.
I hate cats.
You don't hate cats, John.
Yeah, John, you don't hate cats.
You can't hate cats. Because if you hate cats, then you're a psychopath. There's no... I can understand you saying I prefer dogs, but to say I hate cats, they don't do anything wrong. They just sit there and they're like soft and cuddly and they purr.
Oh, they do lots of wrong things, but that's what makes them fun.
You know who loves cats? Jared Leto in Suicide Squad loves cats. I'm just going to say that. Just going to say that.
I will also say...
I grew up with cats, by the way. My family had a wonderful cat. But
have you met my cats?
I have not.
Oh, you got to come over. And also, we now have a 4th cat, Joe Louis, who we named after the boxer who could beat anybody with one arm tied behind his head, one arm tied behind his back, because our cat, Joe Louis, has 3 legs and no teeth.
That's adorable.
And no ears either, like little crumpled up boxer ears.
That's adorable.
And he's so cute. He comes and snuggles with me,
over.
and he puts like his one good paw like on my chest. Like, hey, Mom.
Actually, we can't come over because Anne is actually allergic to cats. So.
I will bring the cats here.
But Anne is allergic to cats.
I'll give her a Claritin. I mean, I'm clearly a cat fan.
Anyway.
I got this at a cat show.
Oh, jeez.
Micheline Pitt and I went to a cat show together, and she wore her cat ears, and I bought...
Went to a cat show.
Oh, it was
All right.
Amazing.
That'll do it for these two guys. I will, Aaron, we will see you tomorrow. Rob, we will see you on Friday. And now, guys, we still have about a half hour or so let's keep things rolling here with your live questions. All right, the next one up comes, comes to us from Galaxy's Edge, who writes, world's smallest violin playing for Jared Diva Leto. Well, I honestly think he got screwed over. And I don't think he was, when you really look at the context, I don't think he was being a diva at all. I really don't. That's just my opinion, but it is what it is. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, my guess on what R2 is saying in the last look scene, you wouldn't want my life to get boring, would you? Oh, which would be such a nice throwback to the thing what 3PO said to R2 as well. I like that, Ryan. I like that. Well said. All right, Brandon Blake writes, plot twist, Marty is a DC fanboy hating Marvel. Listen, there are people who have suggested such things. I don't think that's the case. But you're not the first one to suggest that, Brandon, so you might be onto something. Right. Captain Chicken Pants, I like the name. Do you feel the return of the Emperor dilutes his legacy a bit? Not at all. And makes Vader's redemption arc in Return of the Jedi less impactful now in retrospective viewing? Not at all. I wish they kept him and Maul dead. Feels lazy. No, I completely disagree. And I've been asked that question before. Some people have said to me, like, oh, well, if the Emperor's back, doesn't that completely undo the sacrifice that Vader made? And the answer to that question is absolutely not. Vader saved the rebellion, saved his son, and brought about the downfall. It was Vader who brought about the downfall of the Empire, which led to decades of peace and justice in the galaxy. That's what Vader's sacrifice did. It ended the Empire. It saved his son. It saved the rebellion and ushered in decades of peace and justice under a new republic in the galaxy. Now, it was never going to be forever. Like at some point, something else evil would come along, whether it was the same evil or different evil. But no, the Emperor coming back doesn't undo the fact that he saved Luke, he saved the rebellion, and he ushered in decades of peace and justice in the galaxy. It doesn't undo any of that. So no, and when you look at the saga as one big continuous story, understanding that Palpatine himself becomes the overall bad guy of the entire thing, I think narratively it fits very well. Very, very well. So anyway, that's my take on it, at any rate. All right, Superman Steve writes, John, my local cinema had a screening last night of The Shining. Nice. In 4K Dolby Atmos. Man, that movie is absolutely incredible for its time with extended scenes, and what a great time to see it. Because now we got Dr. Sleep coming out in, I believe, November. It's opening up next month. I'm going to go actually see it on, in like next week. Yeah, I'm going to go see it a week from today. I'm going to go see the Dr. Sleep, which is the sequel, the spiritual sequel to The Shining. So what a perfect time to go see that, Superman, Steve. And with the extended scenes, that's really cool. 4K digital Atmos with an all-time classic right before its follow-up film comes out. Perfect timing for that, Superman. All right, Jabin Carter writes, I've been busting my ass for years as a Barney fan. Oh, man, guys, I just don't get it. Where are they going with that? Like, we've been talking about this Barney situation for days now, and I am still flabbergasted at the note. You know what? I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think this Barney thing is going to happen at all. We'll see. All right, Jabin also writes, and this reboot better live up to expectations, talking about Barney. So for those of you who may not have known the story, we talked about it, I believe, last week, that Mattel is, with the studio, is doing a Barney movie. There's a Barney, yes, the big purple dinosaur, that Mattel's executive says will surprise audiences and subvert expectations. It's a freaking dude in a purple dinosaur outfit. I mean, how much do you think you can subvert expectations? I don't know. All right. Justin McFarlane writes, Got my tickets for the 9-movie Star Wars saga. Good on you. Marathon the Wednesday before episode 9 opens. 27 hours in the theater. Can't wait. Also, tickets for Friday and Saturday. You know, I had a bunch of people asking me, John, you're going to go to that 27-hour-long marathon that ends with Star Wars episode 9, right? And I'm like, no. Don't get me wrong. It sounds like a really good time. And maybe a month from now, I would do such a marathon. But, and I'm not dissing on anybody else who's going, because if that's going to be fun for you, that's awesome. For me personally, I don't want to be desperately trying to keep my eyes open when I watch Star Wars Episode 9 for the first time. I want to be ready. I want to be primed and pumped and ready to go. I don't want to be having been awake for 27 straight hours going in to watch Star Wars Episode 9 for the first time. Now, there are others who are doing that, and I hope you guys have an awesome blast. It is really cool. And you can say 10 years from now, yeah, I did a 27-hour marathon to watch the entire thing when Star Wars Episode 9 came out, and that's awesome. But I just know, for me, it would diminish my enjoyment of the movie. I'd just be a zombie. I just can't be a zombie when I watch that movie for the first time. Anyway, Isaac Beebe writes, my Episode 8 theory. The water planet that the Death Star crashed, probably meant episode 9, crashed on is Kamino, and the long-necked aliens found Palpatine's body and cloned him. You know what? I don't think that at all is what's going to happen, but that is a well-reasoned, good foundation theory. That is a very well-reasoned, deep foundation theory. I don't think that that's what they're going to do, Isaac. I don't think that at all. But that would fit from a logic point of view, Isaac. That would fit. I don't think it's what they're doing, but that's actually a well thought out theory. All right, Haskell 420 writes, my AMCs here in Long Island have digital Dolby and 3D. Again, I want to make sure, as an asterisk to that whole rant about the 3D stuff, is to understand these are not chain wide. It's not like every theater's forcing this on. But I've been getting many emails from a lot of people that there are a number of theaters in the country that are doing that, and that's a problem. But it's not everybody. I want to be very, very clear about that. It's clearly not everybody. Thanks for that, Haskell. All right, Captain Chicken Pants writes, if you could see one actor or actress, either deceased, retired, or on screen just one more time, who would it be? For me, Gene Hackman. I miss his presence. Yeah, Gene Hackman would be great. Peter O'Toole for me. He is one of my all-time favorite actors. He's been in some of the all-time great films. So for me, it was a great question, Captain Chicken Pants. I would go Peter O'Toole, but Gene Hackman's a great one too. D308X writes, another great Arrow episode plagued. I haven't seen last night's Arrow episode. Plagued by the flash forward, Oliver's stupid kids. P.S. Katie Cassidy was great in that last episode as well. Best acting from her since season 2. You know, I've always said, like, one of the things that made me jump off of Arrow was the whole ludicrous stupidity of, hey, Laura Lance took a couple of boxing classes at night, so she's a superhero now. And she became Captain Buckles. It was just so ridiculous and so preposterous that it just made me lose my enjoyment for the show. But some people got really mad at me online saying that I was dissing on Katie Cassidy. And I tried to, no. I actually think Katie Cassidy is quite talented. I just don't think what they're giving her is very good. I hope they kill off her character and she can go off and do something that's more worthy of her talent. Now, I actually like Katie Cassidy. I really do. I just didn't like what they did with her character. I don't blame her for that. I never did. Mickey Altieri writes, how long after Rise of Skywalker is released would there need to be, how long after The Rise of Skywalker is released would there need to be before we can hear how Colin Trevorrow's episode 9 would have gone? Or is that something we'll probably never know? I got a feeling it's something we'll never know. Because I don't think that ever got very far. I don't think it got very far beyond the concept stages. So I'm probably guessing we're never really going to find out. I mean, who knows? Maybe 20 years from now, Colin Trevorrow is going to be writing a memoir And he'll write down what he was going to do maybe at some point. But other than that, I don't expect we're ever really going to know. Because it's not like they went through 4 drafts of a script, was doing pre-production on it, and everything was ready to go, and then they changed directions, right? It was still in its concept phase. So my guess, just a guess, I don't think we're going to probably hear anything at least for a while, at least for maybe a decade. Epic Dubtime 23 writes, Cineplex also forcing 3D screenings for IMAX. Cineplex is one of the worst for that. For those of you who are wondering, understandably so, what the hell is Cineplex? Cineplex is the dominant movie theater chain in Canada. That used to be my favorite movie chain in the world, and it used to be a dream of mine to work with them and to work for them. That every year I've gone home, the theater going experience to a Cineplex has gotten worse and worse and worse. And it was really highlighted, I remember, by last year, my mom wanted to see Bumblebee. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to take my mom to see Bumblebee. But me and my mom, we don't like 3D. So I get on the website of Cineplex, and I'm looking at the local theater, looking for a time we can go to see Bumblebee. Every screening was 3D, except for one screening at 4 p.m. in the afternoon. That was it. Every other screening they had was 3D. And I'm like, what kind of BS is this? Just yet another thing that really pissed me off and has turned me against Cineplex, and I hope they go under at some point. And by the way, I have openly invited anybody from Cineplex to write to me to explain some of the decisions that they've done. And I've complained about a number of things that they've started doing in their theaters over the last few years. And I've sent out an open invitation. If anybody from Cineplex would like to write in and explain their position on this and their point of view, I'm more than happy to hear it. But they have just, in my opinion, basically just turned vile and evil. I'm not a fan of them whatsoever anymore. Anyway, Tony Lamar writes, oh my God, I cannot get that new Star Wars score out of my head. The music to that trailer was pretty great. I got to admit, the music to that trailer was pretty awesome. It's just epic. Do you feel John Williams is saving the best for the last Skywalker film? Well, no, I think John Williams puts his absolute best into everything he does. And maybe this will just turn out to be even more epic. But look, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves from just some music we heard in a trailer. You know, there's a lot of music that goes into making this movie. But it is John Williams, so I'm expecting greatness. But I got to admit, even though I had some issues with this last trailer, I like it overall, I do. But that music was pretty awesome. Our friend Zack Bartrand writes, up until last night, I went 24 years without having seen the entirety of Poltergeist 2, The Other Side. Kind of wish I had now. What an awful movie, dude. Yeah, like, for a long time, the basic understanding was sequels are bad. A lot of people just say the sequel is never as good as the first, or very, very rarely. Poltergeist 2 was one of the poster children for that whole movement. It's bad. You know what's funny? I went back, Zach, it was probably about 2 years ago. I went back and watched Poltergeist. I was with a couple of friends of mine, and we just decided one night to watch Poltergeist. And that movie is so good. I mean, some of the effects are a little cheesy by today's standards, but overall, it's like a horror film. It really does kind of hold up. But Poltergeist 2, dude. Oh, I feel your pain, my friend. I feel your pain. All right, Murray Reich writes, I was on holiday the past few days, and I finally got to see the new Star Wars trailer. I was dying to see it, and I was very let down. It was a fine trailer, but it didn't shock me like The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi trailers did. Yeah, see, for me, Murray, and welcome back, by the way. For me, the issue was, it wasn't that I was looking for something shocking. Just tell me what the movie's about. Because, as we were talking about a few minutes ago, The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi trailers, their trailers told stories. And they set us up for what the basic idea of the movie was going to be. And I haven't got that for The Rise of Skywalker at all. Other than the Emperor's there. Okay. The Emperor's there so I can guess at a few things. But the trailers for those other movies told a story without giving big spoilers away or anything like that. This hasn't. And again, I'm like you. It's a good trailer. I mean, I like it. I like the trailer. I've watched it many times. but I just feel as a final trailer, it kind of fell short a little bit. That's just me. All right, Holland Love writes, super chats aren't communication. Martin Scorsese. I don't know. Is that a real quote, or is that just something you've made up to kind of fit the scenario of what we got? If it is, that's pretty clever. All right, Murray Reich writes, as I was going through the AMC app, I saw that all the opening night tickets for Star Wars were sold out, except past 12 a.m. showing and 3D, which I hate. So I settled for a Regal instead and got it. Hashtag let 3D die. You know what? I'm just going to go back over and check again just to see where we're at. As of right now, over on the poll I put up, asking you guys if you had a choice to go see Star Wars Episode 9 in 2D or 3D, now over 3,700 of you guys have voted. And 3D is caught up by 1%. Right now, 88% of you are saying you would rather go see it in 2D. Only 12% of you out of the 3,700 of you, which is a climb. 3D was at 11%. Now it's at 12. So there you go. I mean, what can I say, man? I completely agree. Is what it is. Is what it is, right? Okay. Let's see. Murray Reich also writes, I finally got to see Yesterday. I liked Yesterday. Interesting concept. I'm a longtime Beatles fan, so I enjoyed it for the most part. Wasn't thrilled with the ending. 6.5. You know what? Without giving anything away, I concur. Not the strongest ending. One of the hardest things with a lot of movies, especially movies that have really interesting concepts, like Yesterday, it's really difficult, especially for those movies, to really stick the ending, to really stick the landing, I should say. And I agree, that was one of the weaker parts of it. I agree, but overall, I enjoyed it. I would probably, maybe if I gave numerical scores, I'd probably be in the 6.5 to 7 range, but I thought it was quite solid. Really enjoyable. All right, Lee Mallinson writes, Marty's comments are getting traction because there isn't an MCU movie for 10 months. News sites want to keep Marvel in the conversation for views/clicks. Plus, I don't remember anyone up in arms when Mackie, SLJ, and RDJ have been crapping on DC so publicly for the past decade. Batista with Fantastic Four 2. Well, okay, Lee, you're absolutely 1,000% wrong. You're 1,000% wrong. Listen, let's look at it from this point of view. Let's say Vince Lombardi was still alive today. Obviously, he's not. But let's say Vince Lombardi and John Madden. Two iconic names in the world of football. All right? Two iconic names in the world of football. And football is the number one sport in North America. Easily the number one sport in North America. You may disagree about whether it's the best sport or not, for sure, but there's no denying it is the number one sport in America. If Vince Lombardi and John Madden got on a stage at some event and started talking about how football today sucks, it's despicable, these new players today, they're awful, they're blah, blah, blah. And you got these two iconic names of football. Are you telling me you don't think that's headline news on ESPN? Of course it is. And the whole football world would be talking about it. Of course they would. In this situation, Lee, we have two of the most gifted, godlike, talented filmmakers and iconic names in filmmaking of all time coming out and disparaging the absolute undisputed number one movie genre in the world. Whether you like comic book movies or not is irrelevant. It doesn't even matter which genre it is, but you've got the two of the most iconic names in filmmaking coming out and mounting a campaign against the number one most dominant, popular box office genre in the world right now. Of course that's something people are going to talk about. It's not because of this BS. Oh, it's just because there's not another Marvel movie. No, that's not true. That's vehemently not true. Okay? two of the most iconic filmmakers of all time bashing on the most popular genre of film in the world. That's something people are going to talk about. And then, by the way, they keep talking about it. Those guys keep talking about it. As far as the Mackie, and first of all, the Batista with dude, what are you talking about? The Batista with the Fantastic Four quotes was all over the sites. I remember we had a very big segment on that news item. And I love Dave Batista. I love Batista. I love that dude. But I blasted Batista for what he said there. And it was all over the site. So don't tell me, oh, nobody talked about it. Yes, they did. The very fact that everybody knows what you're talking about is a testimony to that. And as far as, Anthony Mackie, Robert Downey Jr., or the infamous, Jason Momoa, fuck Marvel. Remember the big Jason Momoa thing, talking about that? Nobody really takes that serious because everybody knows that's in fun. Everybody knows that's in fun. Because they all also talk about in interviews about how, hey, listen, man, the comic book movie genre needs to be healthy. The healthier the whole genre is, the better it is for all of us. Kevin Feige has talked about, we want DC movies to do well because that's good for us. Henry Cavill has talked about, I love Marvel movies. I want them to do great because the more they do great, that's just good for us. It doesn't automatically mean their films work, whatever. So when you start hearing Jason Momoa saying, fuck Marvel, you start hearing, Anthony Mackie, same thing. We all get that because we all know it's in fun. We all know that's in fun. So I got to completely disagree with you, Lee. I think you're creating a false narrative. I really, really do. Because to say that we're only talking about this because of two of the most iconic filmmakers of all time, talking about the most dominant and popular film genre today, and you think that's not something the movie world is going to talk about? Of course it is. Of course it is. So I gotta completely disagree with you there on that one, brother. Gotta completely disagree with you. All right. Let's see. Charlie Gray writes, I got Star Wars AMC Independence tickets for Thursday, December 8th, 10:15 p.m. The AMC Independence. That's the name of one of the theaters. Okay. For December 8th, 10:15 after work, not 3D. There was also IMAX 2D December 8th. Do you mean December 18th? Anyway, not 3D. There was also IMAX 2D tickets available. That is awesome. Listen, a lot of people having the opportunity to get the things they want, and that's great. I'm glad you had that experience, Charlie. All right. Slim Trav writes, hope Morbius does well for Leto after this. I mean, I want Morbius to do well only because I want comic book movies outside of Warner Brothers and Marvel to do well. I was thrilled that Venom turned out to be as good as it did. I thoroughly enjoyed Venom. I hope Morbius is as well. And here's hoping Leto. But you know what? Who knows? Maybe Jared Leto sucks in this movie. Maybe he's great in this movie. Who knows? But I just hope it does well just because I want other people other than this DC and Marvel making comic book movies that do well. So that's my hope. Estebel Garcia writes, Cats and Bombshell opening against Star Wars, bad idea? I don't think so. It's completely counter-programming. Right? So your Star Wars audience, let's put it this way. The people really excited to see Bombshell is not necessarily, I am, but not necessarily the same audience that wants to go see Star Wars and thing with Cats. We've seen many times in the past, good counter-programming to a big popular movie can also enjoy some success. And I think, if anything, Cats and Bombshell, depending on how close they are opening, I think that's good counter-programming. I think that can work out fine. So I think they'll be fine. Alfredo Para writes, Walk and Talks look great to use a camera stabilizer. I've tried several different things. Right now, I'm using a DJI Osmo 3. It's a gimbal that I use, and it's quite good. I've also just used it holding it with my hand. I've also used just using a selfie stick. But my last couple of ones, I've been using this DJI Osmo 3 gimbal. And it's worked quite well for me, as a matter of fact. So thank you for commenting on that, Alfredo. I appreciate that. All right. Robert Johnson writes, A Bloodshot looks awesome. They made the plot twist from Memento into a movie and threw in Aldrich Killian's technology from Iron Man 3. And on top of that, Guy Pearce. I am intrigued by a Bloodshot movie. I'm intrigued by it. And I'm a fan of Vin Diesel. So you got Vin Diesel in there and all that kind of stuff. I will admit I was not blown away by the trailer. Visually, they do some really cool things with their whole effect of the healing stuff. That was very visually creative. I like that. But I don't know that my enthusiasm for the movie went up any as a result of the trailer. But again, it's just the first trailer, right? The first trailer is kind of like, hello, everybody. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Bloodshot, the movie. You know, that's what a lot of first trailers are these days. And there's nothing wrong with that. A lot of the first trailers for movies that are going to have a really dedicated marketing campaign will put out the first trailer, and it's usually just basically a casual introduction. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am Bloodshot, the movie. Pleasure to meet you. You know, those. And then later, the second date or the second or third trailer is like, let me tell you a little bit about myself, right? So I'm okay with that. I didn't think the trailer was bad. It didn't get me jumping up and down or anything, but I'm still intrigued by this film. I'm still intrigued. And I like your analogy there, Robert. That works out very well. All right. Pretty fly for a Filipino guy. I like that name. Writes, have faith in episode 9. The horse, not the force, but the horse is strong with this one. I'm dying to see because here's the thing. That shot of horses running across the deck of a Star Destroyer, that can go one of two ways. That can either be really cheesy and very head smack worthy, or if they put it in the right context, it could be an epically amazing moment in the movie. It can go one of two ways. It all depends on what's the context of that shot. And we don't know what the context of the shot is right now, but it can go one of two ways. And it's going to be, hopefully it goes the more iconic way and not the more, Casino Planet in The Last Jedi way. So we'll see how that kind of goes. All right. Bad Motherfucker 82 writes, how do I sign up for the Disney Plus Hulu ESPN bundle? I honestly don't know. Like, I'm one of these guys that I don't sign up for something 8 months before it happens. Like, especially with a service like this, I'll probably sign up for it the day before. Actually, with the news that came out, apparently, if you're a Verizon user, you get Hulu, or you get the first year of Disney Plus for free. So that's another one of the reasons that I'm glad I didn't sign up for anything yet. Because I was at D23, it's like, hey guys, sign up today at D23 for Disney Plus, and you get a discount. Okay, cool, but I still didn't. And now I'm finding out because I'm a Verizon customer, I get Disney Plus for the first year for free. So it's a good thing I didn't sign up and spend my money already. So I don't know how to sign up for that deal. I'm going to be keeping my eye open for it, but as of right now, I still don't know how to sign up for that deal, but I will keep my eyes open because I haven't gone to sign up for it yet. I'm waiting until we get closer to the actual launch date. All right, Paul Diego writes, greetings, happy campers. Taking my best friend to the Warner Brothers studio tour. It's a fun tour, the Warner Brothers studio tour. If you're in LA, I do recommend trying it out because I enjoyed that a lot. Anyway, taking my best friend to the Warner Brothers studio tour this Saturday for her birthday. A stop at the AMC Burbank. Any recommendations for a nice place to eat in Burbank? Love you guys. You know what's sad, Paul? My favorite restaurant in all of Burbank just shut down. My wife was down there. It was right beside the AMC Burbank 16. My wife was down there the other day, and she texted me a picture of, sorry, they've closed their doors. And it was this Italian restaurant called Market City Cafe. It was my favorite restaurant in all of Burbank. There are a lot of good places to eat right by the AMC Burbank 16 because the AMC Burbank 16 is right in downtown Burbank, and there's a lot of great restaurants right around there. I'm going to go, if you like some good barbecue stuff and whatever, there's a restaurant right by the Burbank 16 called Wood Ranch. It's actually a chain as well, but it's very, very good. So if you're down there, you've just did the Warner Brothers tour, you now went to the AMC Burbank 16 looking for a place to eat, I give Wood Ranch a shot. Give that one a shot. It's called Wood Ranch. Give that one a shot. I hope you guys have a good time. All right. The last comic book standing writes, Rewatch Batman Begins. King Joffrey cameos as the little boy outside of Gordon's apartment. Yes, it is. Can't believe the film's almost 15 years old. Still great. Okay, wait a second here. What year did that come out? Batman Begins. Batman Begins came out in 2005. 14 years ago. 14 years ago. That's stupid. That is nuts. There are probably some of you guys watching this right now that weren't even born yet when Batman Begins came out. There are some of you watching this right now who were probably not even born when Batman Begins came out. That is nuts. Oh my God, Last Comic Stand. That's just made all of us feel old. All right. Bryce Bradford writes, possible Palpatine can force Ghost possess. Now, it's possible. I don't think that's what they're going to do, but is it possible? Absolutely, it's possible. Michael Bradley writes, hello, John. I saw your tweet about G4 and Attack of the Show. Wish there was a channel today like G4. Me too, man. Really, I do. Or Reels channel was back then. Reels is just a tabloids these days. Yeah, Reels sucks now. It absolutely sucks. But yeah, so for those you don't know, my friend Chris Score, who used to be on G4 Attack the Show, he was their movie guy. He is doing a documentary called Attack of the Doc that basically chronicles like Attack of the Show and what it was for a lot of us. And I happened to be in it. And they put out their first trailer. And their first trailer has a lot of me in it, as a matter of fact. So I highly encourage you guys. I think the topic is fascinating. And I'm in it. But go look up Attack of the Doc. And go find that trailer for the Attack of the Doc movie. Again, documentary by Chris Gore. I think it looks great. I'm really excited to see the whole thing. All right. Joel Muchler writes, I just saw Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai for the first time. Wow, what an incredible movie. I love the imagery of the swords and the grace. Here's the thing about a number of Kurosawa's films, but particularly Seven Samurai. I don't necessarily think Seven Samurai is the best film he ever made. It's one of the best. But I think it is easily his most influential. Because I feel a lot like Seven Samurai the way I feel about the original Godfather. Which is, when you watch The Godfather for the first time, it'll be like opening The Matrix and realizing, oh my God, almost every movie I've ever seen has been influenced by this movie. And you don't even really realize that until you watch it yourself for the first time. And it's when you watch The Godfather for the first time that you're flooded with, oh my God, like almost every movie I've ever watched has borrowed from or very clearly been heavily influenced by The Godfather. I feel very much the same way about Seven Samurai. Maybe not as much as Godfather, but when you watch Seven Samurai for the first time, you'll be overwhelmed by like, oh my God, there's so many movies I've seen that were clearly influenced by Seven Samurai. Some directly so, some indirectly, but I'm glad you had a chance to watch it, man. It's absolutely one of the best ever. Daryl Best Wadley writes, Cardi B in Fast 9. Yeah, I heard about that. I don't care. Music star joins movie. I don't really care. She was all right playing herself in Hustlers, but honestly, I don't care. If it's a small role and she doesn't have to do much other than play herself, I'm sure it won't be a problem. Ryan Cleary writes, hey, John, hope you're well. Thank you so much, man. Do you know if Canada will ever get a theater subscription service like you have in LA? Didn't have them in Vancouver. Thanks, my friend. I honestly don't know. Why? In the United States, almost all the major now movie chains have them. AMC clearly has A-List. Regal now has Regal Unlimited. Cinemark has their own movie club. Alamo Drafthouse now has a membership service like that as well. If they continue to demonstrate that those are valuable and profitable for the movie theater chains, then you'll probably see Cineplex do it. But then again, Cineplex is basically a monopoly in Canada. Cineplex really doesn't have much competition. In Canada, if you want to go to a movie, chances are you're going to a Cineplex theater. And they know that. And because they know that, that's, I think, why they act so evil. and why they do such stupid, terrible things that are very customer unfriendly. So I don't know. It would make sense for them to do it, but they know they don't have to do it because they've got no real competition. So I hope they do sometime, Ryan. I really do, but I don't know if it'll actually happen. Brian Clark sends in a very large super chat. Thank you, Brian, for supporting the channel on that level, man. I appreciate that, dude. I think the reason you couldn't get Dolby or IMAX tickets is because they went on sale at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, not halftime. I only knew because I had an AMC alert on my phone once the trailer aired. Tickets had been on sale for about 90 plus minutes. I mean, that's a yeah, I'm sure that has a possibility too. All I know is that they had 3 theaters that would have been my first choice to see it in. The Dolby Prime, the regular Prime, and the IMAX screen, and all of them were sold out. They were all gone already. So I got a regular 2D screening in a regular theater at the AMC Burbank 16, and that's fine. I'm going to get to watch, I'm sure if the movie's good, I'm going to get a chance to see Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker many times in the Prime. But it's just my first one is going to have to be in a regular theater, and that's fine. That's fine. But so I think there's probably some truth to what you're saying there. That absolutely probably did have a part to play with that. Okay, let's see here. Brianna Trishita writes, Star Wars presale tickets for the first 24 hours are in, and they're good, but under Endgame. Should be predictable, but some genuinely thought it would beat Endgame to highest grossing movie of all time. There are people who've been saying that, Brianna, and I have been saying always, Star Wars Episode 9 is going to be big. It's going to be a big blockbuster. It's going to make a ton of money. It is not going to come close, depending on your definition of close. It's not going to come close to Endgame. I've said, and I still believe, it will join the $1 billion club, but I do not think it'll hit $2 billion. It's going to be a massive, stupidly big blockbuster hit, but it's not hitting 200. It's not hitting 2 billion. I don't believe. So yeah, there's that. I mean, and that's why when Adam Tickets reported like that, you know, that Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker beat the first hour of tickets for Endgame by like 45%, I said, I don't believe at all it's going to beat Endgame's even pre-sale tickets records. Like maybe for the first hour, great. But I do not believe it's going to break Endgame's pre-sale tickets record. Sorry, guys. Something's caught in my throat here. I said that. And so nobody should be surprised. Nobody should be surprised. All right? This is going to be a big, monstrous movie. It is not going to be Endgame sized. So let's just be clear on that. Let's be clear on that. Shouldn't be surprised by that. All right, Run Amok Design writes, I bet this 3D thing was AMC HR's idea. Yeah, damn AMC theaters and their stupid HR department. Anyway, Ryan Trabuco writes, saw the news on Deadline yesterday that All Rise received a back-end order episode pickup on CBS. Congratulations, Aaron. Yes, that's true. They got an extended order for more episodes. Erin's been killing it lately. I mean, she's not here, so I can say nice things about her now. But like between, like just in the past little bit, she's Flash, All Rise. She's got Lucifer upcoming. She just shot 3 weeks of Dynasty. She's doing really well. It's really great to see her doing well, especially after the cancer, battling cancer for as long as she did. To see her being able to get her career up and going again, it's really awesome. All right. Ryan Trabuco writes in a large super chat. Thank you, Ryan, for supporting the channel on that level, dude. Also, sending some extra super chat love to Rob, Chris, Aaron, and everybody else at the channel. It's been a great week so far. Birthday, awesome job news. That's nice to hear. And won a couple of hundred at the casino. That's always good. So sharing the wealth. Well, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it. First of all, when people just send in something to say nice, but also just send in something to contribute and contribute to the channel and support the channel. Thank you so much for that, dude. And I'm curious, though, Ryan. You drop me an email. What did you win a couple hundred at? See, I go to the Vegas a lot. Personally, though, I never play anything. The only thing I play is poker. That's it. I don't do the slot machines. I don't play craps. I don't go to the roulette table. I don't play blackjack. I don't play it. I just go to play poker. because I'm really big into poker. I love poker. But I would just be a little bit curious, Ryan. What did you do well in? I would like to know that. All right. Tom Weinberg writes, I liked Emilia Clarke in Me Before You. That was the one I was thinking about before, by the way. Personally, I'm excited that she's doing a comedy because I feel that's where her strength lies. We're gonna see. Now, I thought the trailer for Last Christmas was terrible. But I like the director. I like the cast. And maybe this will turn out to be really great. And maybe this will be Emilia Clarke's real big bursting forth moment post Game of Thrones. Right now, all I have to go off of is the one trailer, and I didn't like the trailer at all. But that doesn't mean the movie won't be great, right? We've seen lots of bad trailers to great movies, lots of great trailers to bad movies. So hopefully this will be it, Tom. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed with you. All right, Adam Paul Stone writes, Scarlett Johansson and Ryan were... Oh, that's right. They were actually married. They didn't just date. I forgot about that. Ryan Reynolds was actually married to Scarlett Johansson. You're right. Thank you for the correction on that. Where are we at here? Gevino, I'm not sure I pronounce that right. Next Deadpool appearance should be him paying Marty and Francis a visit. Villain in first movie was named. That's true. That's true. Francis was the bad guy in the first Deadpool movie. That would be pretty awesome. I mean, they would never do that because they respect Marty Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola too much. But oh my God, if they did that, where you see Deadpool just walking into a house with a mailbox that says, the Coppola residence, that would be pretty funny. They're obviously not going to do that. But I'm with you, dude. That would be pretty funny. All right. Mark Badaldo writes, they're at it again. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood coming back to theaters this Friday with 4 new scenes. Thought it would end getting ridiculous now. I'm with you, Mark. I hate that whole trend. It's like, hey, you paid us to come see the movie. Now pay us again to come back and see the full movie. I hate it. And by the way, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is already about 20 minutes too long. Just saying. That movie is already about 20 minutes too long. So I have no interest in going back to watch an even longer version of that movie. That's just me. But yeah, I hate that whole trend. All right. Ben Rayner writes, yesterday, favorite movie of the summer, 8.5 out of 10 for me. Again, it worked. I thought it was quite good. There are some people, Ben, like yourself, absolutely love that movie. And it's got a lot of charm and a lot of heart. And the premise of the movie is so clever and good. It's really good stuff. All right. Last question of the day, guys. Then we're going to wrap things up. Hoser Miaz writes, IMAX 3D is great, but I noticed that 4K... IMAX theater is great, but I noticed that 4K theater. I'm not quite sure what you're saying other than the fact that you like IMAX 3D. And that's great. Look, there are people out there, including Robert Meyer Burnett, who appreciate good 3D. I'm just not one of them. And the majority of people are not that. So I'm not saying get rid of 3D. And sometimes I say that, but that's half in jest. Keep 3D around for those who really enjoy it. But let the amount of 3D reflect how many people actually are interested in it. Because I'm looking at this poll, and this poll is now telling me that nearly 9 out of every 10 people would not choose to watch it in 3D. So why don't you make sure that your screening options reflect what it is the audience wants? They don't want it in 3D. They want it in 2D. There are some who want it in 3D. So instead of having 8 showtimes, like that one time I tried to take my mom to see Bumblebee, instead of having 8 showtimes in 3D and 1 showtime that's not 3D, why don't you make that more reflective of what the audience actually wants? Why don't you have 8 showtimes in non-3D and then 1 showtime for those people who do want 3D to go see it in 3D? Ah, that's right, because you're trying to screw over your customers, to force them to pay the extra $4. It's not a good business plan. It's not a good business plan, in my opinion, at any rate. All right, guys, that will do it for today's installment of the John Campea Show. Thank Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of this. Thank you to Robert Meyer Burnett and Aaron Cummings for being here. Thank you to all of you guys for making this show a part of your day. It's serious. I mean, it's not just lip service. It's seriously an honor, a real honor that of all the things you guys could be doing right now, you chose to make this show a part of your day. And that is truly an honor. And believe me when I tell you, that is never lost on us. Every day we talk about, on this show, we talk about, we have to give our best. We have to make sure everything is as good as possible. We're giving the best possible presentation because this audience is honoring us by spending time with us. And we really do. We feel honored that you do. Special thank you to all you guys who sent in all the chat questions. Number one, because you gave us great fun things to talk about. But number two, because you supported the channel while you were doing that. And all of us here, thank you very gratefully for that. All right, guys, don't forget, later this afternoon at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is the new installment of The Weekly Hero. Me and Robert Meyer Burnett breaking down the biggest stuff in the world of comic book movies and television a little bit later today. Also, guys, about 15 minutes after we're done this broadcast, for those of you who are Patreon supporters and over on the Discord server, we're going to have our John Campea Show post-show chat. I will see all you guys over there in the chat room there in just about 15 minutes after I get a chance to shut everything down and edit up the segments, and I'll be there in about 15 minutes. That'll do it for me for now, guys. Thank you so much for being here. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.